This is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. One of the 4 men who were involved in the shooting death of a teen in Iron County has been sentenced. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Police say 2 roommates chased down 17-year-old Kaylee Dutton and fired several rounds into her car, killing her and injuring a passenger. They told police they believed she was stalking them. On Tuesday, Aldrich S. Felipe was sentenced to 3 years of probation. Felipe and his 3 roommates were all arrested in connection with the shooting.
Felipe had the least severe of the charges. He was not in the car at the time, but failed to report he knew about the shooting and hid some evidence. The Saratoga Springs Police Department is asking for the public's help in solving a case from March. A 43-year-old woman and her 8-year-old son were found shot in their home. The son was dead on the scene, but the mother was taken to the hospital where she later died. Investigators say they still don't know what happened and are asking anyone with information related to the incident to come forward. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Elon Musk is leaving his position at the White House. He was the head of the Department of Government Efficiency. More from ABC's Rachel Scott.
For months, Musk has been working to slash agencies as a special government employee, attempting to cut trillions in federal spending, but facing resistance from the public, lawmakers, and members of Trump's cabinet. And in the last hours of working for the administration, Musk publicly breaking with the president on his massive spending bill, arguing it would undo their own efforts to shrink the federal government.
Your money at this moment. The Dow in the green, 57 points. The S&P is up 31 points. The Nasdaq up 169 points. Coming up, things are heating up. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to Finding Neverland at Hale Center Theater. We were there, Dee and I, on opening night, and it is absolutely amazing. I was so impressed by the aerials. They don't overwhelm the production, but boy, when they use the aerials, it really counts. In one scene, you have not only the flying around, but dancing in the air, which is spectacular. Another thing that I love, in J.M. Barrie's imagination, the Captain Hook character is absolutely spectacular, a perfection in pirate plumage. Let me put it that way. You're going to love the story. You're going to love the production. It's Finding Neverland, and it's underway right now at Hale Center Theater. And don't forget, right now is the perfect time to get tickets for the rest of the season. And all you have to do is go to hct.org. And don't miss Finding Neverland.
Hey everyone, it's Tammy with Hamlet Homes. And if you've been watching Rock the Block this season, you already know these homes are next level amazing. Well, get ready because you don't have to just watch anymore. You can step inside all 4 of these incredible homes at our block party weekend. Join us May 30th and 31st from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. right here in Grantsville, Utah, and tour all 4 Rock the Block homes built by Hamlet Homes. We're serving up $5 food trucks, fun giveaways, and even better, you'll have the chance to take home a piece of our show at our auction on the block, with proceeds benefiting our amazing friends at Homemade Utah. Come for the homes, stay for the food, and leave feeling inspired, all while supporting a great cause. We can't wait to see you there, because at Hamlet Homes, we don't just build houses, we build experiences. Visit hamlethomes.com for all the details, and let's rock this block together.
Pantheon Clinical Research is conducting a chronic migraine clinical trial. Located just minutes from Salt Lake City with plenty of free parking, this study is open to children ages 12 to 17 who suffer from chronic migraines. To pre-qualify, your child must have 8 or more migraine attacks each month and at least 15 headache days. They should also currently be taking or have taken oral medication for migraine relief. All study-related visits, tests, and medications will be provided at no cost. Plus, reimbursement for study-related travel may also be available. As a parent, it's never easy to watch your child suffer. This is your chance to help them find relief. For more information, call Pantheon Clinical Research at 385-281-0550. That's Pantheon Clinical Research, 385-281-0550. Or visit us online at pantheonclinical.com. Again, that's 385-281-0550. Or go to pantheonclinical.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, traffic is finally easing up northbound I-15 in Lehigh as you get up toward the point of the mountain. But as soon as you cross over onto the Salt Lake Valley side of things, you are crawling along all the way up to 123rd South in Draper. You also have a little bit of slowing southbound I-15 for between 800 North and Center Street in Orem. There is a fender bender on the right shoulder approaching Center Street. It's partially blocking that right lane, but that's really the only other issue we have on the roads. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialists. Whipple that away. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be warm today, a high of 89 degrees here in Salt Lake City, and temperatures will just keep climbing, reaching to 94 on Sunday. But we have a little, relief starting at the beginning of next week. Right now, it's 72 degrees and cloudy. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, we're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
Marty Carpenter sitting in with me today to co-host the show. Hi, Marty.
Good morning, Deb.
Can't wait to dive into our top national story with you in just a second. But first, let's remind our listeners, because it's been a minute since you've been here with me.
Yeah, with you. I've been in on the afternoon show a little bit, but
in
the mornings for sure.
And we used to work together at KSL 5 TV.
Yes.
Way back in the year, 2000?
2000, okay. Yep. I was here for the Olympics and 9/11 and the Elizabeth Smart abduction, all during my time here as a news editor.
But now you are partner at Northbound Strategy.
Correct.
Northbound Strategy. Also, you've been campaign manager for 3 governor's races in Utah.
Yeah, I guess I technically ran Herbert in 16, Huntsman in 20, and then in 2012 also did comms for the Herbert campaign. So
comms is?
Communication, sorry. We did the communication work for all of that, so the messaging and such.
So for Governor Gary Herbert, you're also the communications director.
Yeah, following the 2012, I was up in the office, so I did the official stateside there and got a nice inside look at how politics works in our state.
Well, I cannot wait to talk to you about this.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
That federal court ruling that came out yesterday, late yesterday, it just has to do with President Trump's tariffs. And it was April 2nd? I think he said he wanted to announce Liberation Day on April 2nd because he was worried about people conflating it with April Fool's Day on April 1st.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
And that's when he imposed a lot of tariffs on the, global partners. And now a court has said, can't do that. Cannot do that, in short. We'll go into more details in just a moment when KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas joins the show. But when I read this yesterday, Marty, I got whiplash.
I need a flow chart. I mean, really, that's where I'm at this point.
Well, at one point, it was 145% against China, which worried me. I didn't know where the family budget was going to go, if once these started to take effect. But then he rolled that back to 30%. And now a federal court, this 3-panel group of judges, has said, can't do this.
Well, it seems to be the general pattern here, right? That the president comes out and says, I'm going to set a high, even shockingly high tariff rate on whichever country. And it's not usually a blanket thing. It's we're going to do this to China, we're going to do this to Canada, we're going to do this to whichever country. This is why I say need a flow chart, because it comes out and says, this is the number, and then either the president makes a change to that after talking with those countries, or the courts say you can't get to that point. So I don't know that I could clearly articulate, hey, this is what the current tariff rate is imposed or proposed to be imposed by the president right now, and the courts are saying, "Hey, you got to slow down anyway."
But what does this look like as a strategy? How long does this last? You've been in the strategy field for politicians for a long time. How does this play out over time for a candidate or for the president.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I don't think there's one single answer to that, because you have to look at what everyone is trying to accomplish in this and understand that in some cases parties are trying to accomplish more than one thing. So let's start with the president. You can drive one overarching message. This is sort of what you do in politics. You know that I'm going to say things and say the same thing over and over and over again, and it takes a long time for people to start to get it, and they only get it at a high level, and they're not going to get into those details. So I think what the president is trying to do is further establish that the message here is I'm coming out swinging for the American people, and knows that most people aren't going to get bogged down in the details. And if that's what he's trying to accomplish, I think he's still doing a good job of that. That I think that's how a lot of Americans probably in the middle and to the right still feel. The left, very scared about what he's doing, right? And they will be about just about anything he does. That's what he's trying to drive. There are some benefits to that, and there are some real risks to that as well.
Do you feel like as somebody who's been in this realm for as long as you have been, that this has staying power?
That's the really interesting question, because right now what you're seeing, and I think this, again, you're looking at this at like who's paying really detailed attention versus what's the general public starting to see. They probably love that he comes out the gate and says, I'm here to make America great again. We're going to realign things. We're going to get a better deal wherever we're not getting the best deal right now. And people probably like that. And then they start to see a little bit of the volatility in the stock market, and they start to go, I don't know, how does this impact me? What does this do to the economy as a whole?
How does it impact my 401k?
Right.
How does it impact my retirement plan? If I'm not near retirement, what about my parents' retirement plan?
Right, because I want America to be great again so long as America is great for me again, right? So I'm on board as long as you're helping me. And when that starts to get a little shaky, that starts to get a little more difficult. So when the president comes out and he's taking these big anchoring positions where he's saying, hey, we're going to hit you with 140%, whatever, these high, shocking numbers, when those start to get tempered because the courts now say no, or because the president then meets with somebody from that country and then decides, well, we'll delay it, or we'll pull it back down a little bit, that starts to feel like crying wolf to a certain extent, and so you can't maintain that for long. So he's got a balance between, I want the message to be, I'm here fighting for the American people and we're going to make America great again. And he has to make sure he doesn't get into the messaging cycle of, I'm crying wolf. What I do is come out and get boisterous and then I back down.
I'm going back to when he started implementing the tariffs just in my mind. And I remember it was like, Canada is first out of the gates. And Mexico, I could kind of digest that one. But Canada? And then I felt like, well, now here we are. Picking a fight, two neighbors that generally get along, and Canada was coming out swinging, and then I was like, now we've made Canada mad.
Yeah.
And then personally, I was like, how is this going to impact me down the road? I still feel as though we haven't, and we don't know if we will, see the full impact of the tariffs. I also think about the businesses, particularly the small businesses who are trying to navigate just 145%, by way of example, tariff against goods coming in from China. How do you plan for that? And if you go out and buy product from China with 145% tariff implemented, what happens when he rolls it back by Monday morning and it's now 30%? Now you have overspent. Yeah. It feels like small businesses in particular, and I always, I have a soft spot for small businesses. They're the ones trying to figure this all out, and they might not have the resources, the lobbyists, if you will, back in Washington, D.C., or the highly paid CPA firms or the highly paid lawyers to help them navigate this. So I always wonder, how is this affecting them? And I would imagine it can't be good.
Yeah. Businesses love stability and they hate uncertainty, right? So anytime you take away that certainty that a business can deal with and saying, I can deal with just about anything if I can anticipate what I'm going to be dealing with now, 3 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. And when you take out that certainty and you bring in uncertainty, now I've got problems. So certainly that has been introduced into the market. I still think it's a balance between what the message is, right? Because if you're saying, hey, we made Canada mad, well, maybe Canada's been taking advantage of us for a while. And that's when you get into who's going to win the messaging battle, right? Is it the president who can articulate and say, Canada's been hosing us? They've been hitting us with dairy tariffs, and it's 250% or whatever it is for us to import dairy products into Canada. And meanwhile, we don't do that to them. So we're going to balance this out. I think you can sustain that for a while, and you have to have some wins in order to do that, because it's really easy for people to get spooked by the potential ripple effect and how that impacts us. And that goes back to what I was saying. I want to make America great again so long as America's made great for me. So I'm all for us leveling out our trade with all of these countries, or making it more fair, or making it advantageous for us. But you have to calculate how willing is everyone to go through some economic pain while you're in that negotiation.
Political strategist Marty Carpenter sitting to my left all morning long. We're talking about President Trump getting met with a no-go from the International Trade Court when it comes to his tariffs. It was about a month and a half ago. I think I was actually maybe on a road trip when I heard this.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
That's when the tariffs really started to roll out. It was April 2nd. And now we're to a point where the White House is appealing yesterday's ruling after the federal three-judge panel said you don't have the authority, Mr. President, to implement most of these tariffs.
The Trump administration overnight quick to appeal. The White House rebuking the court, saying it is not for unelected judges to decide how to properly address a national emergency, adding the administration is committed to using every lever of executive power to address this crisis and restore American greatness.
That's ABC News Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce bringing us up to speed on what the White House is saying about this ruling. Our legal analyst, Greg Skordas, also going to bring us up to speed on the legal ins and outs of this decision and what it means for the tariffs. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, you guys. It's nice to be with both of you.
Yeah, I will always like to remind our listeners that by June 9th, you are going to be hosting 9 to noon right here on KSL News Radio with Holly Richardson on the all-new Inside Sources. But you've been on the air with us for quite some time as our legal analyst. So when this went down yesterday, you were the first person I thought of. What was your take on this ruling from this three-judge panel with the International Trade Court?
Yeah, so I was interested mostly because I hadn't heard of that court, and it is a U.S. court of international trade. So it's not like The Hague or something where the UN has formed something. It's a United States court, but it's what we call a specialized court, like our bankruptcy courts, where it does very specialized things. It deals with trade, it deals with tariffs, and it deals with international negotiations with respect to trade. And so they had heard the case. It was brought by 12 states, and it was brought by a winery that was claiming that it was being damaged by this ruling by the administration. And they said that the Trump administration didn't have the authority to do that. And I thought, and I know I'm rambling here, that they were going to be critical of his decision. But they said, we're not weighing in on the merits. We're not saying it was good or bad or foolish. We're just saying he didn't have the authority to do that.
So, Greg, this takes us back to like a Civics 101 question, and this is maybe something you can help me and if not some members of our audience on, because I understand that like this authority starts with Congress. But over time, Congress has ceded some of this authority to the executive branch. And so what we're really trying to dial in here is to what extent exactly have they ceded some power? Because I think of like there's the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. There's the Trade Act of 1974. There are any number of policies where Congress has said, hey, we don't want to get in the details. Executive branch, go figure this out. And now the Trump administration is taking advantage of that, as they're allowed to do. This is authority. This is essentially a job you've assigned to our predecessors and left that authority in place to go figure it out. So that's really where we are, is sort of the push and pull between like, hey, what is Congress's authority here, and to what extent have they delegated that to the executive branch? And the courts will sort that out, but also Congress could go clarify this.
Oh, no, you're exactly right. And Congress hasn't done anything. The problem, Marty, is that the Trump administration did this through what they call the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And they're saying that the trade deficit is a national emergency, and so he has authority to act in times of national emergencies. And this court said, we've had trade deficits for 39 years. And to say that suddenly it's an emergency is not correct, because it's just what we've done in this country. It's how we've always addressed things. So that what they're saying is notwithstanding, and I think your argument is great, Marty, that really Congress should have done something, but they're just not doing anything right now. But what the court is saying is that the administration, the Trump administration, didn't have the authority to do this, and their method of doing this through some emergency power was wrong.
Greg, stand by for just one moment. We have some breaking news. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson stepping into studio with breaking news. Does this have to do with that Supreme Court ruling that came down moments ago, Randall?
This absolutely does, Debbie. So this was a Supreme Court case that centers around the Uinta Basin Railway.
Okay.
Now, this is a railroad that the state has wanted to build to get into the Uinta Basin so that a lot more oil and gas could be produced in the area and then shipped out around the country. But they need that railroad to make it happen. The U.S. Supreme Court, in an 8-0 decision,
yeah, I'm seeing that.
So unanimous decision, said, yeah, all these different environmental reviews and lawsuits, it's gone too far, and that they need to go back to a previous ruling that said the project could go forward. So essentially, this is a big win for those in the state of Utah that wanted this railway, wanted more oil and gas production. Does not mean this is over. There still could be other environmental groups, lawsuits, whatever, but this really kind of opens the door for this railway to happen.
Yeah, it's a big decision today. I know you and our team of reporters and producers are in the newsroom feverishly working to continue to track the developments on this ruling. Randall Jepson in here with us in studio breaking that story. It just happened moments ago. We'll continue to track that story throughout the morning and bring you details as they develop.
Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
Now back to that federal court ruling. Greg Skordas on the line with us talking about President Trump, the administration, and their tariff push being blocked by this 3-judge panel. It happened late yesterday. And Greg, I guess the million-dollar question for me is, by the way, as you might imagine, I sat over the last few weeks and tried to figure out how in the world my family budget was going to navigate, tariffs of 30, 50, 145%. And as I was watching the Trump administration roll back the tariffs, I was like, phew, feeling this sense of relief. But I guess the million-dollar question here is, are these tariffs now at least on pause?
They are. They're 100% on pause right now. And by the way, it's limited only to the tariffs that he imposed in this act recently when he had that pronouncement a couple of weeks ago. So tariffs that were previously in place with respect to automobile manufacturers, goods like steel and aluminum are still in place, but those particular tariffs that he imposed on certain countries are now on hold, and they are no longer in place, although, like you said at the outset here, or maybe Marty did, the administration is going to appeal this to the D.C. Court of Appeals.
So to a certain extent here, Greg, I look at this and say the president is winning with his main constituency. He's out there fighting for America, and the courts are the bad guys, and the Democrats are the bad guys. And so I see what he's trying to do as far as the messaging there. Now, if you're actually trying to make a difference here and actually, realign, if you're really trying to do what you're saying you're trying to do, this just becomes a slightly more methodical process. That either, number one, you've got to slog your way through the courts until someone agrees with you, which occasionally happens. We just heard about an 8-0 ruling that would be something probably in favor of where the administration's position is. But if you can also go the congressional route. And so you start to build a case, I think, publicly to say, these are things we need to do. I'm a president elected with somewhat of a mandate. I want to go do these things. Now, Congress, we need to go clarify these things, and we need to go put these things into actual legislation so that we can go advance without having to get tied up in the courts all the time. I just wonder if you're looking at from the administration's perspective, you say, I'm a winner because I'm the good guy, the courts and the Democrats are the bad guy, and I'm the winner because this helps me put some pressure on congressional Republicans to go enact something that I want to get done. But like any administration, you start to overextend, and everything gets to be a little more difficult than it seemed at the outset. So those are some of the things I think the administration's dealing with. So while this is a setback, it's not like they've hit the end of the road on the court side, and I think it helps them get in position where they can go push Congress to do something.
So maybe you could just fill us in, Greg. When do you think the Supreme Court will take this up, or when it hits the appeals court? When will they take it up? Immediately? Did Greg go away?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Oh,
now.
sorry.
Okay.
The Supreme Court won't take it up until the D.C.
Yeah.
Court of Appeals hears it. So that appeal is started immediately. That appeal should go fairly quickly. By that, I mean 3 to 6 months. And then the Supreme Court will take it up after that. But these things don't happen quickly.
Yeah.
Although the D.C. Court of Appeals might
they might.
stay the lower court's ruling or do something while it's on hold or while it's being argued. But I don't think that this is going to go quickly. I do think Marty makes a good point, and that is Trump could circumvent this entire thing just by going to Congress and saying, look, you have the authority to do this. I may not have. You have the authority. Let's have congressional hearings as they relate to tariffs.
Well, and if they do that, we will follow that angle of it too. So thanks so much, Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, joining Marty Carpenter, myself, to walk through what the court ruled late yesterday regarding President Trump's tariffs. Greg's saying they're on pause, but the White House immediately running to the next level of the court system to lob an appeal. So straight ahead, I'm looking forward to this conversation. If you drink your sugar, those sugary fruit drinks, you want to stick around for what BYU researchers found out about what it does to your body when you drink sugar in liquid form. Lois Collins of the Deseret News in next with details.
I want the news stories to really capture the environment that the story took place in.
Midday, all new from noon to 3.
I really want to take you to that spot where the community is really making an improvement in their neighborhood through a cleanup project, where the Cross Guard is helping those children cross the street.
Midday.
Those are the stories that really have an impact on you.
Midday with Maria Chaleos. Listen between noon and 3 on KSL News Radio.
Discover the timeless value at Duke's Jewelers, a local treasure since 1948. Whether you're searching for a unique engagement ring or need expert watch repair, Duke's has been serving the community for over 75 years. It's the perfect time to visit and explore the wide selection of custom designs and quality gemstones. The skilled designers at Duke's can bring your dream piece to life, while experienced jewelers handle repairs and modifications in-house. Duke's Jewelers takes pride in value pricing, ensuring you receive the best prices every day. Need an appraisal? The Duke's Jewelers AGS certified gemologist is here to help. Whether it's hand or machine engraving, or redesigning old favorites into something new, get personalized service for every occasion. Visit Duke's Jewelers and experience the difference of locally operated expertise and dedication. Duke's Jewelers in Springfield, Utah.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something? Boat wins! Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing? Boat wins! Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing? Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat. Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
It's 9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. Police have arrested 2 people in connection with a missing South Jordan teen. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
South Jordan police say they booked 2 men into the Salt Lake County Jail after investigators claimed they were in contact with 15-year-old Elisa Petroff before she went missing more than a month ago. Police say Matthew Menard from Florida turned himself in, and that they've also arrested Samuel Mitchell from Harriman. They're being accused of sexual exploitation of a minor. As of last update, the third suspect, William Glines, is in custody in Texas.
Petrov was last seen taking a front-runner train to Provo on April 21st. Police believe she was trying to get to Las Vegas. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Trump administration is appealing last night's ruling that stops most of the tariffs put in place.
In response to the ruling, the administration is asking the 3-judge panel to pause its own order pending appeal, saying that not doing so would cause a foreign policy disaster scenario, that it would destroy a carefully negotiated agreement with China and shatter other talks still ongoing. The court ruled late Wednesday that President Trump exceeded his authority by invoking emergency powers that had never been used by a president to impose global tariffs.
ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reporting. Your money at this moment, things are still on the green, just not quite as high as they were a little bit ago. Oh, wait, the Dow just dropped. It's now lost a point. The S&P is in the green still, 21 points, and NASDAQ has gained 131 points. Coming up, we'll take a look at your forecast. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Heather Kelly.
We're finally back to freeway speeds almost on all the roadways. The only bit of slowing we have remaining is northbound 15, just after you come over the point of the mountain from Utah County up toward Bangerter Highway. But those delays are quickly easing up. You have a good drive if you're southbound I-15 from Ogden into downtown Salt Lake City. No problems anymore getting out of Twilla County on SR 36. And things look good on Eagle, coming out of Eagle Mountain as well. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have a little heat wave for this weekend. High today, 89 degrees, and then that moves up all the way till Sunday, 94 degrees for the high. Right now, it's 72 degrees and cloudy. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I might have been one of the first ones through the wall on this by mistake, Marty. But years ago...
Like the Kool-Aid Man?
Yeah. So years ago, I was like, I was drinking a glass of orange juice every morning. It was pretty much a routine every single morning.
Because they always told us part of this balanced breakfast, right?
Do you think
It's sitting
so?
right there.
Yeah, was that what year did you when were you
How old
a kid?
am I? Is that what
70s?
you're
No,
gonna-
I don't want to say how old are you.
I was born in 1978, so
okay,
late
so
70s
you're about
into
10 year.
yeah.
You're about
A kid through
11
the 80s,
years
how's that?
younger than me. Wow. So I mean,
I don't know how to take that. You're looking at me and going, "Wow, only 11 years younger than."
Well, so we probably.
I know. I
grew
don't have any
up in
hair,
the
Deb. It's
Same. But yeah, drink your orange juice.
Yeah, that's right.
Drink your orange juice. Drink your orange juice. And so as an adult, I drank my orange juice every morning, and I was like, well, it's got infused with a little extra calcium, and so that's probably good for my bone health. And then one day I was like, oh, it's not setting well with me. It feels like there's too much added sugar. I don't know how my stomach feels on it, so I gave it up. Well, it turns out, I was reading the Deseret News this morning. My friend Lois Collins has written all about this brand new BYU study about drinking your sugar compared to eating your sugar. So BYU researchers really take a deep dive into this, and I'm going to let Lois explain what they found. But the conclusion they came to, or the information that they gathered, to me, you know what? I was pretty smart years ago, not knowing that giving up drinking sugar infused orange juice every day might be a good thing for my health.
Yeah, I mean, all I know about it is that it's supposed to spike your blood sugar really high, and that's in part because it's the sugar from the juice without the fiber of the rest of the fruit, right? So eating an orange is different than drinking orange juice as far as what it does to your blood sugar. I'm not a medical doctor. That's just what I've always heard, and that's why I stay away from it. So I'd love to know more about how the sugary drinks get into this. And I want to start here because before we even start talking about sugary drinks, the very first thing that's going to pop into a lot of people's head is, but I drink diet soda, or I drink Coke Zero, or Pepsi Zero Sugar. And so I want to start there. Let's talk about sugary drinks, Lois, but are we talking about all sodas, juices, or just the things that have actual sugar in them?
Sugar added.
Okay.
We're not talking about this study that BYU did in conjunction with a couple of institutions also in Germany. They did not look at the artificial sweeteners. So that's fodder for a whole separate study. But it's also pretty well known that there are other health things involved with soda. There's too much sodium. There's too much other problems besides sugar. So it's something to think about and really look at.
So this lane...
This is sugar.
This is sugar. All right, so walk us through what they looked at and then what they found and what was the aha moment in this.
So there have been a lot of studies that show that sugar-sweetened sodas are not good for you. This study did a couple of things differently. They looked at it in multiple countries. There were more than data from more than 500,000 people.
Wow.
So it's a really big study. And they also looked at the question of it versus table sugar. So if you sprinkle sugar every day on your oatmeal, is it the same effect as if you drink in your soda? And they found two things. The first thing they found is that the risk is much bigger and the endpoint, by the way, was one single endpoint. It was type 2 diabetes. So it was the risk of having type 2 diabetes increasing. And they found that with a 12-ounce glass of soda that's sugar-sweetened or some other sugar-sweetened beverage, but not juice, then your risk goes up by 25%. But it's a relative risk, so don't try to multiply it. Don't say I had 4 sodas today and therefore it's 4 times 25% is 100%. That's not how relative risk works. Everybody has their own baseline. So if you have like a 10% risk because of genetics and other things, that first soda would raise you up to 12.5%. You'd be, by the time you had your 4, you'd be at 20% risk, but it's a significant risk. They found with juices, because juices do have some phytonutrients and other things, they're not as bad. It's about a 5% increased risk, but it's still a risk that you don't need. Eat the whole fruit. You're much better off just eating the whole fruit, getting the fiber, doing the other things.
Why is that? What did they find?
They believe that it's the way that it's processed
In your body?
Your body with liquid sugar processes it differently, and it all goes through the liver, and the liver gets overwhelmed, and it greatly increases the risk that you will have fatty liver, which is a problem which can lead to insulin resistance. It can actually lead to fatty liver can lead to like needing a liver transplant at some point. So it's a real problem. Table sugar is nobody eats just a spoonful of sugar
They don't?
except for Mary Poppins.
Oh, well, come on. Once in a
Mary-
while. I mean, am I
Mary-
the only one? Come on. Text us at 57500. When have you been caught downing just a teaspoon of table sugar?
Not-
Once in a while.
It's supposed to get rid of.
Not very often.
It's supposed to get rid of hiccups. A spoonful of sugar.
Not very often, though. So
Okay, you're right.
So
That's
with
true.
table sugar, you're adding it to maybe your yogurt to make it sweeter. You're adding it to more solid foods. You're adding it to other things.
Well, coffee. People add it to
right.
coffee.
That slows it down. It slows down the processing. That's an interesting question about coffee because that is technically a sugar-sweetened liquid. And they did not address that, so
well, I think
do
about
not know.
sweet tea. A lot of people
Yep.
I know drink sweet tea. I grew up on sun tea without sugar added.
Sweet tea may be the most sugary thing. I've lived in the South for a bit. And
Does that go
the amount
right?
of sugar that
Am I
goes
the only
into
one
that
that
stuff?
goes right to my left eyeball when I drink sweet tea? I'm like, woo!
I am not a scientist. Some days I'm not even a good speller. So all the disclaimers I hear. I'm certainly not a doctor. But when I read this study, what I got from that is the liquid itself, there's nothing to slow down the process. So probably that's a problem too. I don't know.
So what the takeaway is for me when reading your article here at Deseret.com is I want to be cautious with how much sugar I consume in liquid form.
Absolutely.
And it could be fruit juices.
And they actually said that table sugar does not have they did not find the same risks for type 2 diabetes. So maybe and in some cases they said it even appeared to be a little bit protective. So you should go ahead and maybe, based on this study, feel free to sprinkle sugar on your oatmeal or stir it into your yogurt or things that slow it down. They said you don't have to be afraid of sugar. You should be afraid of drinking your sugar.
And I think over the years, I've met a lot of people who drink a lot of non-diet sodas. They'll drink, I call them fully leaded.
I'm married to one of those people.
I dated a guy years and years ago.
He's dead now, but no, I'm just kidding.
Who drank fully leaded soda multiple times a day in the huge mugs, and I'm thinking about all of that sugar that he was. And we didn't know this back then.
And
it just
all
tasted
of the
so good.
sodium and all of the other things, and they're quite addictive for some people.
Another way this plays in, I think, for Utah is soda shops are essentially like the Utah bars/coffee shops for a large part of the population here. And it's not just the soda, even if it's a diet soda, it's suddenly you're pumping in some kind of sugary additive to that, some other flavor mix, or you're essentially making, maybe you have 2 or 3 of those that go into a drink. You can put those in at gas stations sometimes. So that's one of the things in Utah is like we're kind of known for being not only a sugar hub or a soda hub, but it's what gets added into that soda. So I imagine those types of things are the same principle.
I think it would be the exact same thing.
You're pumping in some kind of processed sugar into the drink.
Is this also one of those situations, Lois, where it's like overconsumption is bad, but occasionally if you find yourself at the soda fountain filling up with a regular Coke, it's not going to flag?
If your
it's not going to flag your liver or hurt your liver? Or
no, I would say that's definitely the case. If you are a regular consumer of soda pop, if you have a can of sweetened soda every day, forget all about the liver. You're going to gain 12 pounds in a year, and you're going to keep doing that every year. So that's another study that's very clear on that. There are other reasons to be moderate in that.
Yeah. Lois Collins, Deseret News. Love your work, as always. You can read more about this new study that just dropped from BYU. Brigham Young University weighing in with how drinking your sugar is different than actually eating, like the real fruit. Thank you so much,
I'm going
Lois
to take a big
Collins.
swig of my water while you wrap this up.
Right. Straight ahead, if you're one of those who stand up before your taxiing plane comes to a full stop at the gate, you'll want to hear about a brand new fine for passengers who don't stay seated and buckled up. That's next.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule at 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
David Dujanovic.
All right, if you're one of those who's coasting on the runway on your plane and you unbuckle and stand up in the aisle, you know who you are. Marty, do you do that?
Once we've stopped
Okay,
and they've
that's-
turned off the seatbelt sign, yes, I unbuckle and stand up.
Come on, once in a while, you know,
And
you're
you-
half a mile away
but
from
I'm
the gate.
6'3", and so
Here we go.
at some point you go, I got to stand up. We're not dealing with the same set of circumstances for some. My wife is 5'2". She can sit there for another 2 hours if she needs to. Some of us have got to get up and stretch
I'm
out.
5'8" and a half, which I always like to. 5'8" and a half. I stay seated and I watch you all block me from getting up and getting my bag from the overhead bin. Marty Carpenter in today. Marty, you are a political strategist. You've run campaigns for 3 governors' campaigns here in the state of Utah. And of all the things I wanted to talk to you today about, this was the one that I couldn't wait to talk to you about the most.
How good is your etiquette getting on and off an airplane?
What do you do? Do you stand up early? Too
I
soon?
not early. Like I wait until the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. I also am very strictly an aisle guy. Like I like the aisle seat because there's a little extra leg room for parts of the flight. You can kind of stick your feet out a little bit. So I like the aisle, which means I am the guy who's supposed to stand up first and get my bag so that we can start going out, right? But I would defer to the person across the aisle for sure. So I think I have pretty good airplane.
Cues?
Yeah, I think I have. If I jump the gun on anything, it's turning my phone on. We're within a couple hundred feet of the ground. I think we got this on lock. Let's turn that phone on. It'll take a second for it to boot up.
You'd be okay if you're flying to Turkey, but many others won't because Turkey is going to start or has started fining airline passengers who unbuckle before the plane stops. And the fine is $70. You unbuckle, you stand up. So if you unbuckle, you stand up in the aisle, you start reaching for the overhead compartment, you're not only annoying me, you are also going to potentially face a fine if you're flying to Turkey. And by the way, if you say, like, when am I going to go to Turkey?
But this is like before you, this is while you're taxiing.
While
is
they're
what they're
taxiing
saying.
before the plane has fully stopped. Let's get a little more detail from ABC News' Start Here with host Brad Milkey.
There are 2 parts to these new rules. The first is don't unbuckle your seatbelt until we are done taxiing to our gate. In my experience, American flights are pretty good about this, though in Turkey it's apparently become a problem. Everyone gets up. But you'll also be expected here to observe a deplaning protocol, which is almost never enforced on American flights. Under this rule, you'd only be allowed to stand up when the row in front of you is filing out. Break any of those directives, we're told, and you'll be fined. A Turkish broadcaster says the price will probably be 2,600 Turkish lira, which is about $67 US. The reason for all this, of course, is it's not just poor form. You think you're the only one who wants off this plane 30 seconds earlier? Now, airline professionals say once people are jamming these aisles, it's way tougher to clear the way for a medical emergency or for people with really tight connections. Now, some people really do like to stand upon arrival. Your butt's gotten sore over hours, plus the poor person in the middle seat has been jammed between elbows. Why not give everyone just a little variety? But sorry, early standers, the early exiters have ruined it for the rest of you.
So I'm totally in agreement with all of that, other than if you're on the aisle and the plane is stopped and the seatbelt sign is off, you should be able to stand up. I'm not blocking anyone. If there's some medical emergency, I can sit right back down. And you want me to be efficient in this process. You don't want I don't want the row in front of me to be completely empty before I'm standing up to get my bag. When that row's empty, I want the 2 aisle guys on their way out. That's what I want. That's how we get off this plane fastest.
Okay, so for me...
So I'm about being courteous in the sense of we all got to get off this plane. Let's do it as quickly as we can.
But for me, Marty, I'm looking at y'all standing up, waiting for the door to open, and I'm like, where are y'all going? Why are y'all in such a hurry?
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I just want to stand up. I've been sitting down for 4 hours.
So for you, it's all about unscrunching your legs.
Yes. Yeah, I got to stand up.
I don't know about.
I've been sitting here for 50 minutes and I want to stand up.
I don't know if I buy that. It may be for you, but I want it for all of you. Everybody else is in a rush,
Look,
and
any guy who pushes his way through and like the 2 rows behind me that comes up, or the row behind me who tries to leapfrog, no, sit down.
The other aspect of this fine in Turkey, the $70 fine in American dollars, that I want to talk about is the people at like 2 and 3 rows back who are rushing to the front of the plane and blocking me from exiting row 26, seat B. I can't get out because they're all rushing for it. It's like trying to get on I-15 at 6:24 in the morning. You know, nobody will let you in. And then, my bag in the overhead bin is a couple of rows back because I was zone 7. Always, it seems like, we're zone 7 to board. So I got the last space available and the overhead bin available, and I shoved my backpack in there. But I can't get back to that now because everybody else has rushed forward, and they're blocking me. So I like the fact that they're going to start telling people, let the people in the row in front of you go first. It seems, first of all, courteous, and also I think safer.
Yeah, I think, look, no one should jump from a row behind ahead of someone.
Do it
we
all
should
the
just go off
time.
row by row. And they do it all. I think
not enforced.
I think on flights you might see one person do it.
No.
And that person should be publicly shamed. We should be braver as a society, and those of us who know how to obey the rules should say, "Hey, dude, hang out for a second. It's not your turn."
But you can't.
But I've been on flights when someone's got your issue where there's a bag 2 rows behind or whatever.
Pass
and
me
you can
my
say,
bag.
"Hey, I don't want to hold us up. That's my blue bag right there. Can you snag that one for me?" And it gets passed up. My experience has been that mostly this is still a relatively courteous operation with an occasional person
Line
who just
jumper.
goes rogue. And that person, I think as a society, this is where we need to bring the bullying back and go, no, sit back down. You need people who can say, go sit back down. And I need to know that if I'm going to be that guy, that I got 3 more people jumping in behind me to go, yeah, sit down, buddy. It's not your turn.
You can't publicly shame somebody on a crowded aircraft because what am I going to say? And then what are they going to do in return? I got nowhere to go.
It's my secret power.
Y'all
I
are
can shame.
Y'all are blocking the exit. So if I said something to somebody and they came after me for saying something, like, I don't want to poke the bear here. You've already broken the sort of the rule, the golden rule.
Oh, if they come after you, then people will definitely jump in. No one's going to if they physically attack you, they've got way bigger problems when they do get off that plane.
What is your take on this fine, though? The $70 fine in Turkey. They're actually cracking down on this.
Yeah, I can't speak for what it's like to fly into or out of or domestically in Turkey. I don't know how much more disorganized they are. I mean, you can see like there are cultural differences, and you can see this in how people like board trains, right? It's very organized in Japan, and in India it's not. So I have no idea what it's like in Turkey. Flying in the U.S., I would say, I don't think we're at the point where fines are necessary, but I would love to bring back the public shaming, where we can all just agree that, hey, for those of us who know how to board and disembark from a plane, that we can say, hey, not your turn, hang tight. Or at the very least, if that person jumps the line, that we can mock them mercilessly until they get off the plane and move on with it.
I think if we brought fines to the U.S. on this, we would see people waiting buckled up in their seats until the plane came to a full stop at the gate, because there is some cheating that goes on. It's like, well, it's almost a full stop. It's like, no, this is a California stop. They're just going to go right through, right? I mean, it's just like, it's just going to keep going, but it's just good enough. And I think also you would see people waiting for the folks in the row in front of you to start to deplane before you cut them off. I do think fines would work here.
You shouldn't cut them off. But I think you should be ready.
Yeah.
You should be ready. Don't hold us up because you haven't prepared to get off the plane. Be ready to go.
Be ready to
ready
get out
position.
Of your seat.
Balls of your feet.
Ready to go.
Be ready
In
to
the
strike.
starting
Triple threat
gates.
position.
All right. Well, they're not talking about fines here, but they are implementing fines in Turkey. Straight ahead, from men's boxer sales dropping off to women buying more lipstick, Marty and I are going to go through a list of unusual items that have wound up on a recession watch list. We're not in a recession, but the items are still on this recession watch list. So from boxer shorts to lipstick, and we'll also ask a real economist what items are on his watch list next.
It's time for the KSL Give-a-thon.
We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids receiving treatment at Primary Children's Hospital.
Go to kslkids.com and donate today.
Be a smile maker. An automatic gift each month helps save the lives of children all year long.
Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton.
A big thanks to other generous sponsors, including the Utah Hyundai dealers, for their amazing support of the kids at Primary Children's.
The KSL Give-a-thon. We can't do it without you. Please give today at kslkids.com.
Are you looking for the perfect downtown lunch spot? The Garden Restaurant is opening on June 30th in Salt Lake City. Enjoy a reimagined space and a fresh, healthy menu featuring handcrafted sandwiches, rich soups, unique salads, and their famous homemade pot pies. You'll see and taste the difference in every menu item. The Garden is perfect for lunch meetings, taking a break while out shopping, or a spring stroll downtown. Visit the reimagined space with remarkable taste. Grab and go or stay and dine in using a new online ordering option. Find entry from the ground floor of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, open Monday through Friday, 11 to 3. Visit thegardenslc.com to learn more. Fresh Flavors' iconic location. The Garden Restaurant is opening June 30th. Hope to see you there. Visit thegardenslc.com to learn more. thegardenslc.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does your job require you to be on your feet all day? Teachers, postal carriers, salespeople, and restaurant staff. Many of us need our feet to get us through the day. Hi, this is Mike with the Good Feet store, and I'd like you to hear from Donna. She's a nurse and a real customer of the Good Feet store who wanted to share her story.
Oh, I have to tell you, I have struggled with pain in my feet. I was diagnosed with plantar fasciitis. With the 3-step program, it really fits to your lifestyle. I work in a hospital. I'm a registered nurse, so being on my feet, walking throughout the hospital during the day, I am free from any type of pain. And after working a 12-hour shift, I go home and my feet do not hurt.
Whether you're a nurse or anyone wanting to enjoy work without your feet getting in the way, come see us at the Good Feet store.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Schedule your free test walk at goodfeet.com.
Summer is almost here. It's time to get in the best shape of your life with Soda Weight Loss.
Hey there.
You're looking good.
My name is Corey Sulian. My wife and I began our Soda weight loss journey on January 20th of this year. We have seen some amazing results. I have lost 59.4 pounds. My wife lost 30.3 pounds, and we feel great.
It's time to spring into summer with Soda Weight Loss, because right now you'll get our biggest discount of the year.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I love Soda Weight Loss. Thank you for helping to change our lives. I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to lose weight or get healthy.
Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled 8-0 this morning, essentially backing a railway project to the Uinta Basin that was blocked by a lower court. The railway is designed to bring oil and gas to larger railway networks, allowing the products to be moved around the country. Several groups had sued, saying the government had to consider the environmental impact of producing and refining so much oil. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A Boston-based federal judge says she'll order a halt to the Trump administration's plan to block Harvard from enrolling any foreign students.
Federal Judge Allison Burroughs, who had already granted a temporary restraining order, says she'll now issue a preliminary injunction in Harvard's favor that would block the administration from moving forward with its plan. Despite what the Homeland Security Secretary said in a letter last week, her department now says the university has 30 days before it will lose its certification that allows it to enroll foreign students. Judge Burroughs' order would set that deadline aside as the case plays out.
ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reporting. Proposed cuts by the White House would put an end to the Job Corps program. That would impact a good number of Utahns, including 740 people at the Clearfield campus. Isaiah Robinson is part of the program, and he talked to KSL TV.
They also have to understand that a lot of the people who come to Job Corps come from different walks of life, whether that be homeless, didn't finish high school, and ultimately they just want to be something valuable in this world.
Staff and students are reaching out to our congressional members to see if the program can be saved. Your money at this moment, a little bit of a mixed market. The Dow in the red at 229 points. The S&P is also off 7 points, but the NASDAQ in the green, 9 points. Coming up, the warm-up is here. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Pantheon Clinical Research is conducting a clinical study for children and teens. Is your child struggling with bipolar depression? If your child is between 10 and 17 years old and experiencing symptoms of depression associated with bipolar disorder, such as persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, trouble sleeping, low energy, difficulty concentrating, or even suicidal thoughts, Pantheon Clinical Research may be able to help. We are ready to take your call anytime. Call our phone lines at Pantheon Clinical Research at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550. We're conducting a no-cost clinical study for children and teens facing bipolar depression. Participants will receive study-related care, medical tests, and investigational treatment from a dedicated medical team, all at no cost and with no health insurance required. Call Pantheon Clinical Research today at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550, or visit our website at pantheonclinical.com to learn more. Hope starts here.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. anyhourservices.com.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot, and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got a multi-vehicle crash northbound I-15 just before you get to the 3300 South exit in South Salt Lake. The vehicles are blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder, and traffic is backed up to 53rd South in Murray. It's taking about 5 extra minutes to get through that couple of mile stretch of I-15. Other than that, you're going to have a good drive, especially if you're coming out of Tooele County on SR 36, I-80 and the 201 freeway, as well as I-80 through Parley's Canyon. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
89 for our high today in Salt Lake City, and a decent chance of breaking the 90-degree mark for the first time this year tomorrow. Then the extra warm temperatures continue through Sunday, where we could set a record if we hit the predicted 94 degrees. Right now, it's already 77 degrees and sunny. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, we're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
This next discussion actually all began this morning, maybe about 6, 7 a.m. when I was listening to Utah's Morning News. You've heard of Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News. They aired one of Jeff's Minute of News about recession indicators. I'm like, this is interesting to me. And then toward the end of his Minute of News, he mentions the men's underwear index. You ever heard of that?
A little bit.
So it's when sales of boxers start to drop off, that could be an indication.
Is it just boxer shorts? Is it boxer briefs? Is it briefs? Does it go through the entire? Okay,
men's underwear.
Because that could just be a shift in preference of style. You never know.
My ears perked up when I heard this because I'm like, men's underwear, that's curious to me. Is that really an indicator that a recession, or we're fearing a recession is looming? And then I started going down the rabbit hole of what else is on the recession watch list in terms of items. And believe it or not, I found quite a few items on that list.
So interestingly, if you say men's underwear, what that would indicate to me is that if there's something that you could live without replacing, that you could stretch out for another 6 months, you would do that, right? That if there's something you can get by without,
nobody's going to notice.
That's the indication, right? It's not so much, it's just underwear, but like that's the kind of thing that people could go, if it's not in a dire situation, maybe I can hang out for another 6 months. And it's just an indication that there's some things where you're starting to think, I buy it if I need it, but I don't necessarily buy as much stuff if I don't need it. It's shifting more to like, I got to focus on needs, not wants, as an indicator overall. But that is one item where that may pop up.
Marty Carpenter in with me today talking for this next few minutes about recession indicators. And in a moment, we're going to ask a real economist if he has his own list of recession indicators. And actually, I want him to walk us through like what is a recession and how is it determined from the big recession dudes in the sky, I guess, and guys and gals in the sky who decide, we're in a recession. How do they get to that? The R word that I think makes us worried about, okay, what's going to happen to the economy? But I think as we look at your lives, and maybe we look back on recessions, and I look back specifically on the Great Recession of, 2007, 2008, maybe we can foreshadow, it's happening by our own behaviors. Like I would never think, we put buying underwear on hold, thinking, there's going to be a recession. But I will tell you, back in the day, 15 years ago, when we were heading for this great recession and the all but collapse of the economy, Marty, I saw a sign, and I didn't realize it was a sign. I flipped over the newspaper, and it was like the biggest red flags of red flags. It was a time when we still got newspapers, on our front doorstep every morning. And it was like the back of the business section. And I flipped it. It was just like this 2-inch article. And it talked about housing prices going up and up and up and up and up. And there was an economist who said this is unsustainable, and this is a housing bubble, and it's indicative of what could become a housing market collapse. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I went to work and didn't think about it again. And then, of course, we saw what happened with the housing market. And then we saw this, this domino effect across, many streams of our economy. I'm thinking, well, there was my own personal recession indicator at the breakfast table that morning. Do you ever look for signs of any of this? Or when you hear the word recession, you're like, yeah, been there, done that.
I usually look at it and say, I know what the definition is for economists when it comes to a recession. And most of the time that people start talking about recession, we're still 9 months away from checking that off. I mean, I've always heard, and Robert Spendlove can come on in a minute and tell us differently, but it's 3 consecutive quarters of negative growth. So you have to have not just a slowing economy, but an economy that's contracting over 3 consecutive quarters. And until you get to there, so if you're not in recession right now and you're not in a quarter where you've had negative growth, right? Not just slowing, not just, hey, we grew at 3% last time and now we're growing at 2%, but oh, we contracted, and do that for 3 consecutive quarters, then I think this is mostly the media talking about it, and I wish they wouldn't because it gets people scared. And the economy is a lot like dating in some instances. You just got to have confidence and things will keep going well. And when you start to play without confidence, that's when things can get a little bit shaky. There obviously are things that can drive a recession, but consumer confidence goes into it at a very high level.
Well, you might wish we'll stop talking about it, but we're going to keep talking about it. Let's listen to what Jeff Kaplan...
I'm only here today. I won't talk about it tomorrow.
Let's hear more from Jeff Kaplan in his Minute of News.
When you're an economist, your number one job is to worry. Last month, the headlines blared that economists were worried about a recession. This week, they're not. They're worried about inflation. Some are worried about the double whammy, inflation plus recession at the same time. So my advice is when an economist pores over the data, conjures up a prediction, and strikes fear in your heart, remember, it's their job to worry. If an economist isn't, it's because they're on vacation. Generally speaking, these swamis of the stock market are less accurate than the weatherman, which is why TikTok is so busy doing its own economic forecasting. Gen Z is flooding the site with hashtag recession indicator, where kids observe things in their everyday lives and deem them proof a recession is in the offing. The Wall Street Journal found TikTok buzzing over DoorDash, allowing you to pay for a meal delivery with an installment plan. This, kids say, is a sure sign of recession. The hot new women's hair color, recession blonde. You can't blame these folks for trying to guess what's next. Fed Chair Alan Greenspan used to watch men's underwear sales for signs of recession. If underwear falls, that's a sign the economy is going to get pantsed. By the way, sales of men's briefs are up 6.4%. But an economist would be worried they're too tight.
Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
So there you have it. Sometimes they get a little bit out ahead of themselves. Not all of them, but I would stop very short of saying, well, people on TikTok think there's a recession and they're qualified. They're not. I get if they're saying, hey, this is impacting my consumer confidence a bit, but there's a difference between that and going into recession. We should make sure we are talking about the same thing and using the right terms here, because just a little bit of instability is not a recession.
Well, Jeff has his list, and Business Insider has something to add to that. And I was reading that this morning. There was also the lipstick effect. And they say this is one of the more well-known wacky recession indicators, and that is when women buy more lipstick, leaning into the substitution effect, because we're substituting lipstick for larger purchases, like the bigger ticket items. And so I guess we slap on red lipstick to make us feel better about where things are going with our pocketbooks and the economy. There's also, according to Business Insider, a rise in business disputes. That doesn't surprise me, because when money gets tight and businesses get worried, they probably start duking it out in the courts to figure out who owes what in back payments to collect a little more money.
Could be the case. I mean, in all of this, it's a shift a little bit just to say, am I buying certain things because they're more affordable, or because I still have this addiction to consumerism and I need to buy something to make myself feel better, but I don't want to go spend the big money to go make the big purchase. That's why I say it's really a sense. The first wave is consumer confidence, and that's why that gets tracked fairly closely. how are consumers feeling, and are they still spending money the way they do, where it indicates that they have a high level of confidence in where the economy is. And if they don't, that's an indication that things ultimately could turn a different direction. But there's so many variables that go into this that it's impossible to say, oh, lipstick's up. So obviously we're in a recession. That's just not the case.
How about a pawn shop boom? That's on the list too. Pawn shops have increased activity because people are bringing their stuff into pawn.
That's an interesting point as well, that people trying to offload. I wonder if is a pawn shop, like a physical pawn shop, still the indicator there, or is it maybe KSL.com, Facebook Marketplace, KSL Classifieds, whatever it is you start
selling
to see.
stuff so they can. So because I think what happens with people, I remember going back 15, 16, 17 years, how many years ago 2008 was, I was worried about them. My job. I think a lot of people were worried about my job. Like, what's going to happen as we go into this, first of all, the housing bubble and the housing market collapse. Then the short sales start happening, and then the foreclosures start happening, and then the banks are wobbling, and then Wall Street is losing. Are our jobs next? I think that might be more of like a natural reaction to when you start seeing this. You're like, what am I going to feel the pain with job loss? And so I would totally start selling stuff. I'd sell the kitchen table. I would sell anything I could. I'd sell the desks. If I had to sell my laptop, I would. So I can see where there could be a pawn shop boom. Maybe more back in the day when the Facebook marketplaces, and of course KSL Classifieds has been around a really, really long time, and Facebook marketplaces, both of them are go-tos for car-to-car sales. Where you pull in a parking lot, hopefully in a well-lit parking lot, in a very public parking lot, to sell something. But I could certainly see where they could be an indicator. I think there's indicators all around us.
Yeah.
Like if you own a lumber mill and lumber sales start to slow, you're like, okay, what's going on in the housing market? Or you own a small business and customers stop showing up because maybe what you sell is an optional item for them. You might start to feel like something's going on with the economy. Is Robert on the line, Caitlin? Oh, sorry, Robert. Didn't know you were there. Robert Spenlev.
I'm here.
Have you been here
I'm
for a half an
it.
hour waiting to bring you into the conversation? You know us well enough now, Robert, that you can just jump in and be like, Deb, I got a lot to say about this. Robert's a senior economist with Zions Bank. What's your recession indicators? What does a real economist look for?
Well, by the way, just one correction. I do worry even when I'm on vacation. So, a true economist never stops worrying.
Yeah.
But this is one of the struggles. So, there is a technical definition of a recession, and it's an extended period of widespread economic downturn. But it's really hard to quantify that. So, you look at things like gross domestic product, or you look at employment, unemployment, industrial production, personal income. But the problem is you're backward looking. So just today, we got the second estimate of GDP for the first quarter. And, so we're looking way back in the first quarter saying what was going on. And what we're trying to figure out is what's happening right now. So you have to switch from those hard indicators to the soft indicators. So that's where you move over to consumer confidence, the stock market, the bond market. And then how do you figure out what's happening with consumers? You say, okay, what are they buying? One of the ones that I've been following, I love the men's underwear one. There's another one, the hemline. So hemlines tend to go down in bad economic times and up in better economic times.
Oh.
But also,
like on women's
right?
skirts and women's dresses.
Yes.
We lower they become longer when we're in recession.
Yes, and that goes all the way back to the 1930s that they observed that, because people become much more conservative, especially when they're in a business setting. So if you look at business dress, where, during good times, everyone looks like a tech bro. And once things get bad, everyone starts dressing up a little bit more, wearing nicer clothes, maybe wearing a tie to work because they're nervous about maybe being fired. So there's lots of different ones, specifically on kind of buying patterns. You can see that with snack food with ramen noodles. I'm more of a mac and cheese guy, but so you see that those small luxuries. We're also seeing this trend. We call it trading down, where you might have been shopping at Harmon's. Now you're saying that's a little too expensive. I'm going to trade down to Walmart, and then the Walmart people trade down to the dollar stores. But then kind of that final dynamic is when people can't trade down anymore and they just start pulling back. So we're seeing Walmart doing really well from the trade down, but the dollar stores are suffering from people pulling back.
So, Robert, I've always heard that businesses hate instability, right? They don't like uncertainty. And I'm wondering, to what extent is this conversation being driven by numbers, and how much is it being driven by the fact that every day someone's talking about what we talked about in our first segment, which is, hey, there's a new tariff coming on China for 140% or this, or now these have been blocked and they've been stopped. And it's not even so much that a tariff is going into place, it's that it's there and the next day it's gone, or the next day it's blocked and then it's coming back in a new form. How much does that impact the top of the funnel, where businesses are saying, man, we're getting whiplash on this, and because of that, we have to sort of prepare for the worst case scenario, which means you, as a consumer, might start to get the trickle-down effect of those tariffs, whether they're in place or not, or whether they're blocked by the courts or not.
Yep. And I'll tell you that this reminds me, back in 2019, I was starting to see some signs that a recession was on the way. And I had the governor tell me, you're not allowed to use the R word because they don't want you talking about it. Unless we see really good signs that it's going to happen, you have to be careful about how you talk about it. But I'll tell you, just 2 years ago, we ran through a similar scenario. They called it the vibe session, where people didn't feel good. Consumer confidence was down. People were nervous about a recession. You saw economists predicting a recession, but it never happened. So that's where you have to be careful about getting out in front of yourself and looking at these soft indicators and saying, okay, it's going to happen, when it doesn't actually happen. And so right now, my probability of a recession is around 40%. So it's not my base case, but it's higher than it was at the beginning of the year.
And when will you go 100%? or if
after three quarters of negative growth?
Is that what it defines a recession? Was what Marty was talking about earlier?
Yeah, but the struggle is, so it's actually defined by the National Bureau of Economic Research, and they tell you it's about a year after it happens. So they're like, hey, guess what? Last spring we were in a recession. By then it's usually over. And so there's not going to be a good indication that we're in a recession probably until it's already over. I don't see, we did have GDP contracted in the first quarter, but there's a lot of weird reasons why it happened. It was business inventories. They were stocking up in anticipation of the tariffs. And so you kind of have to dismiss that. We're not seeing strong signs of going into a recession right now. I'm not seeing unemployment moving up. I'm not seeing retail sales pulling back. The stock market has recovered. So it's not strong enough to say, yeah, we're in one, or yeah, one's on the way. But we're seeing some of those soft indicators where consumers are nervous.
But Robert, I guess you didn't see me at the makeup counter the other day buying up all the red and pink lipstick.
Well, and that's one of those soft, small luxuries. You're saying, yeah, I can't buy a new outfit, but I can buy some nice, lipstick.
Yeah, $10 tube of lipstick, yeah.
Exactly, and so that's what you're going to do. And, maybe you'll say, well, I can't go out to eat, but I'm going to get something nice in the store, some nice, maybe some chocolate or something like that. So you do see kind of those trade-offs and those shifts, but it is hard to interpret that correctly. That's the toughest part.
Well, and to remind you of a phrase you taught me, I think last week when we were talking about another economic issue, it's the substitution effect, right?
That's exactly right. And we're seeing a lot of that right now, especially with the tariffs. You're saying, okay, if the price of avocados are going to go up by 30%, maybe I substitute out butter. Or if the price of an iPhone is going to go way up, maybe I buy a used iPhone, or maybe I buy a Samsung or something else. So we see that substitution effect happening all over the economy right now.
All right, Robert Spendlove, one of our state's top economic minds, has been for a long time. He's with Zions Bank. Robert, thanks so much for taking some time with us. We're going to shift from men's underwear sales and women buying lipsticks, and we're going to instead move to a whole different topic.
Yeah, rising trend of the stay-at-home son. Have you heard this? The stay-at-home son. I read this in the Wall Street Journal last night. I'm like, I can't wait to talk to Marty about it.
I got 3 sons at home, but they're all supposed to be.
Are they
and
younger?
15, yeah.
So it's kind of been brought to light by this 27-year-old recent college grad. So he introduces himself as a stay-at-home son on the game show Jeopardy.
Brendan Liao is with us from Vancouver. He's a recent graduate, and therefore I assume that's why you're also a stay-at-home son.
That is correct.
Professional stay-at-home son.
Yep.
Pretty good gig if you can get it.
It's a pretty good gig.
Oh, the journey and the proliferation of the stay-at-home son. Straight ahead.
It's been so important in this news show to hear how the news is impacting you.
Midday.
How this is really going to impact your life or your children's safety or your husband's job. To hear that wow moment from you.
Midday with Maria Shilaos.
I invite you to join us from noon to 3 right here on KSL News Radio.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
At Trio Senior Living, older adults aren't slowing down. They're just getting started. The Prime Fit Wellness Program expands wellness beyond the gym into every aspect of community life. Whatever your goals, the team at Trio Senior Living has got your back, so you can put your best foot forward. Call 801-475-4004 today to schedule your personal visit.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot, and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your RV, RV wins.
What, are you going to take the RV to the mountains or go pick up your dry cleaning?
RV wins!
Are we cleaning the gutters or taking the RV camping?
RV wins!
Are we getting a new passport or cruising up the coast?
RV wins!
Don't forget, you got that trip to Sweden coming up. Oh, yeah, passport, then RV.
With Progressive, you can bundle your RV with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings in your RV. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states and situations.
Here with Matt Ashdown from True Rinse Carpet Cleaning. Matt, people are diving into spring cleaning. What can you share about cleaning inside the home?
Spring's the perfect time to hit reset and clean out filth and sickness that Utah winters bring into our homes. Carpet and rugs are a giant filter, so now's the time to clean and refresh. Our couches have taken a beating too. They're full of allergens, hairs, oils, spills, and things you probably don't even want to think about. They definitely need a spring refresh.
Yeah, True Rinse does things differently though, right?
True Rinse has been a professional carpet cleaning business for over 20 years. With countless hours of training, our technicians apply state-of-the-art cleaning techniques, using powerful combinations of water, heat, suction, and no harsh chemicals, delivering a safe, effective clean and a quicker dry time. That's why people choose True Rinse and stay loyal.
And you got a spring offer.
Yes, spring into savings. Get 3 areas clean for just $119.
3 areas for $119. Schedule now at TrueRinse.com. That's TrueRinse.com, Utah's carpet cleaning experts.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business.
Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Jeff Kaplan. When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my Minute of News, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour: hundreds of Utah students could be affected by proposed Trump administration cuts to the Job Corps program. About 740 students take classes at Job Corps in Clearfield. Simone Bender told KSL TV Job Corps helped her find a new career when college was too expensive.
It's going to change everything, and it's going to help me support my family in return.
The program teaches job skills to young adults nationwide. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. More Americans were standing in unemployment lines last week.
Another 14,000 out-of-work Americans made their initial jobless claims in the week leading up to May 24th, 240,000 altogether, and well above the consensus. A report from the Bank of America Institute shows a sharp rise in higher-income households getting unemployment benefits between February and April, compared to the same period last year.
That's ABC's Jim Ryan. Victoria's Secret may be out. The company has taken down its website and made some in-store services unavailable while it addresses an ongoing security threat. Victoria's Secret didn't offer any other details about the nature of the threat. Your money at this moment, a mixed market. The Dow has lost 42 points, but the S&P is up 16 and the NASDAQ is up 101 points. Coming up, we're going to maybe break some records this weekend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I want to tell you about Mountain Home Services. I've been talking about Mountain Home Services for quite a while now, but I want you to remember, as your air conditioning starts to flip on more and more, it's a good time to get it checked out. And Mountain Home Services can be your go-to for that. They can also look over any sort of plumbing that you might need to have looked at, or deal with your electrical. Like maybe you need the outdoor lighting looked at or those lights replaced. You've been putting that off. Now's the time to give Mountain Home Services a call. They've got the upfront pricing guarantee, which means there's no hidden fees. The price that they quote you before they start the job is the price that you're guaranteed to pay when the job is done. It comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee as well. So make sure you give them a call and ask about their special offer for KSL listeners. MountainHomeservices.com is their website, mountainhomeservices.com. Or here's the phone number, 801-543-2222. One more time, 801-543-2222.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, crews are still cleaning up a crash northbound I-15 just before the 33rd South exit in South Salt Lake. It's over on the left shoulder and partially blocking that HOV lane. Tow trucks are on the scene, so that is still causing some slowdowns back to about 45th South in Murray. That's the only delay I see on the major freeways across the Wasatch Front, and no other accidents reported, including on city streets. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
We might have our first 90-degree day of the year. and then moving even warmer into Sunday, where we might have a 94-degree day. Right now it's 78 degrees and sunny. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Sitting back last night, looking over the stories in the Wall Street Journal, Marty, and I see this headline: the new dream job for young men, stay-at-home son. What's your reaction to that?
Not at my house.
But you have younger kids.
It might be the dream, but it's not going to be the reality if we can do anything about it.
It says the new dream job for young men is stay-at-home son.
We're not going to aspire to that at my house. Sorry.
How old are your kids? Can I ask?
7. So I have a daughter who's out of the house now. She's almost 21, and then I have a 17-year-old and 15-year-old twin boys. So my 17-year-old and 15-year-olds are all male. Yes.
Oh, okay. All boys.
Mm-hmm.
But their dream job.
The dream job is to stay home and play video games forever. I'm sure, but who doesn't want to just sit around and do nothing?
So this begins when a 27-year-old Jeopardy winner is introduced by Jeopardy host Ken Jennings as a stay-at-home son.
Brendan Liao is with us from Vancouver. He's a recent graduate, and therefore I assume that's why you're also a stay-at-home son.
That is correct.
Professional stay-at-home son. Yep. Pretty good gig if you can get it.
It's a pretty good gig.
I guess it would be a pretty good gig. I mean, of course, isn't the best gig to have somebody else pay for everything for you and for you to do whatever you want? Of course, that's the ideal gig, but just because a stay-at-home son or a potential stay-at-home son wants that does not mean that get up and go to work dad and get up and go to work or stay-at-home mom should say, yeah, that's great, that's fine.
He's 27, which makes me
And he has some ambition. He's been to college.
Yeah, he's got
and
a
he's won on
master's degree.
Jeopardy, so he's got a couple things going for him.
He's won almost $60,000. And I guess it just aired recently. Almost $60,000 that he won on Jeopardy. He has a master's degree in political science. And he is living at home. Actually, CT News in Canada spoke with him. So let's listen to what he said about this.
I figured, if I lose, I might as well make some people laugh. It's always nice to make people laugh, and I think it's good to be fun and not just, serious trivia guy.
Our stay-at-home son, Brendan, will select first in the Double Jeopardy round.
How do your parents feel about being parents of the stay-at-home son?
I mean, I think they prefer professional loiterer at this point. It's the stay is getting a little too much. I think they want to promote me to away from home son soon-ish. I am still a stay-at-home son. I have not found employment since taping. So if there's anyone out there who wants to hire a guy who's mildly amusing and has broad-based knowledge, please contact me. I'm looking for gainful employment.
So he indicates he's wearing out his welcome with mom and dad.
But I also think it sounds like, at least in his instance, there's a self-awareness of, I don't really actually want to be a stay-at-home son. I'd like someone to hire me. I'd like to do it. I have no idea what he's doing to go get that job. But hey, winning at Jeopardy is not a bad way to start and being on the radar of a lot of people. So I think this guy is heading in a better direction than we're probably willing to give him credit for. We're joking with him, but it does bring up some larger points of how much harder is it to launch now for my kids than it was for me to do it in 1996, 1997.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Is it harder? Is it the cost of housing?
Yes, I would think so.
Is that you think that is the main driver for the stay-at-home son?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a kid in college. It's hard to look at what she can earn in a summer and then continue to work while she's going to school and think, she can be totally on her own. Would she make it if we totally did that? Yes, but are there instances where you can say, but we can still help her out with this, this, and this, right? So I think it's a lot. It feels like it's harder to watch my kids try to launch than it was when I went to school. But I told my daughter, I think I paid, for my first apartment that I shared with 5 other guys when I went to college, $200 and something bucks a month, maybe under. You could convince me that it was somewhere between $180 and $230
Did you go
a
to
month.
College in Utah?
Yeah, I went. I started. I'll date myself here, Utah Valley State College.
Oh yeah.
So I lived in just an apartment in Provo, and 5 roommates, and so it was a couple $100 in a month. it's significantly more for my daughter to pay rent and go to UVU now. So almost to the point where I don't know how the math works unless mom and dad are there to help a little bit.
Or maybe mom and dad open the doors temporarily for son or daughter to come live at home while they save money or while they go to school.
It just feels like the idea of launching and saying, hey, you're 18 and now good luck, which I wouldn't, I'm not here to say that's exactly what my parents did and it was completely cut off. There was certainly help, but it feels like that level of help has needed to increase, in that 30 years.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that very much the same way with my kids. It's like with the cost of housing and even the cost of rent. Right now, $1,200 to $1,600 a month. The cost of food, just the cost of tuition. Yeah. I will say this, though, in this Wall Street Journal article, they do note, and I thought that this brought more context to this. It might be more of an issue for young men than for young women. The overall unemployment rate, okay, I'm going to give you some numbers here. Numbers are numbing, I know, but let's just stay with me here. The overall unemployment rate right now is 4.2%. For 20 to 24-year-olds, the unemployment rate is 8.2%. So almost double. So the overall unemployment rate for men, male, 20 to 24, is 9.6%. It's leaning into that 10% range. So what's happening with young men? So I think there's another discussion that can be had. Like, is there something that's going on with our young men that they either don't want to work or just can't find a good job?
Yeah. Presuming those numbers are based off of like the actual national unemployment rate, that would mean that all of those who are there indicated as unemployed are in the labor force. That means that if they don't have a job, they're actively looking for a job, which to me says, okay, someone who's at least trying to some extent to get on their own path to self-sustaining and viability and all of that. I would love to know what the number is for the number of males in that category who are out of the labor force, who just aren't even trying at this
looking
point,
for
right?
a job. Well, we're going to continue the conversation with live phone calls in just a minute, so maybe you and I can do a little D2 research department move and figure out if we can get
scientific study here.
Yeah. But do you think there's a larger issue going on with young men? I mean, I have a son, you have sons, we're both out in the community. Is there a larger issue that needs to be addressed?
I think there's an element of this that I think it's been, I think young men have faced a lot of uphill challenges that they maybe didn't face when I was a kid. And that is, no one ever told me when I was growing up or when I was a teenager into my early 20s that masculinity was toxic or that I was, that men are creepy and that they're predatory or anything like that. I think there's an element that, I think to a certain extent we attack as a society and beat down the young men. And the repercussion is if they check out, we start to realize, it's actually really important for young men to launch and get jobs and help drive the economy and do a lot of things that we need them to do. And so we need to, probably think through what's our overall tone of messaging to young men, in that what we should be telling them is it's your job to go out and start a family. It's your job to build a career. It's your job to provide. It's your job to do all of these things. That doesn't have to negatively impact how we talk to young women, but I think we certainly can do a better job of helping young men see the responsibility they have and the important role they play in our society.
Do you think it might have something to do with the onslaught of video games? I mean,
for sure.
You and I were I mean, I am 11 years older than you. We've already established that earlier in the show, but video games kind of started to come on the scene when I was probably a teenager.
Yeah.
I'm sure by the time you were a teenager, they were becoming more and more popular. I remember.
I've never been a video game guy, and my sons are, right? And it's just it's ubiquitous. Everybody, I don't know of a kid their age who doesn't play to some extent, and then you have to kind of calibrate how much they're supposed to play and stuff. I do really think that and this is the science according to Marty, my minimal observation, I think there's enough of a consistent dopamine hit that comes from phones, screen engagement, including video games, that I think it does decrease
their drive
some
to
of
get
the
out.
things. Yeah, to get out, to go out with girls, to go ask girls on dates, to go out and be out of the house and active. And
That's
it's
just
more of
my
a struggle
question.
as a parent to say, hey, the world's out there, and it's more fun if you go out and engage.
And you said the science according to Marty, and this is just more like my mom wearing my mom has. Like, I have to ask myself: does it have anything to do with the proliferation of technology at all, or? But we're going to ask our listeners to call in just a moment while you and I do that research we promised during the break. How old is too old for your son, or we'll even throw in your daughter, to still live at home? How old is too old? Well, like, what's your age cutoff, Mom and Dad? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Look forward to your live calls next.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Summer is right around the corner.
It's time to spring into summer with Soda Weight Loss. Today is a new day.
And a big day for you.
Why?
Why?
Because right now, you'll get our biggest discount of the year.
Do you know how good it feels to let go of 51 pounds of belly fat? And I did it without drugs, shots, or hunger. Because Soda Weight Loss works. Just look at all the Google reviews and all the thousands of before and after pictures.
Soda Weight Loss has one goal, and that's to help you let go of the weight for good.
So I lost 25 pounds. I was never hungry. It was very, very easy. I couldn't believe how fast the weight came off.
Now is the time to join America's #1 weight loss company for client satisfaction and results.
Hurry. Savings won't last long.
Let's go.
Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Is it 18 years old? Is it 19 years old? Is it 25 years old? Is it 30 years old? Come on, Mom and Dad. What is your cutoff to tell your kid, you can no longer be a stay-at-home son? That's what Marty Carpenter and I are talking about right now, the stay-at-home son trend. It's written. Wall Street Journal just dropped an article about that, basing it kind of on a guy that just appeared on Jeopardy.
Brendan Liao is with us from Vancouver. He's a recent graduate, and therefore I assume that's why you're also a stay-at-home son.
That is correct.
Professional stay-at-home son.
Yep.
Pretty good gig if you can get it.
It's a pretty good gig.
But also noting the larger trend of this as well, male unemployment rate for those who are 20 to 24 years old is leaning into the 10% range. It's at 9.6%, Marty. We're going to take live calls, 801-575-TALK. What's that cutoff age where you're just like, time to leave the house, time to fly out of the nest, kids? 801-575-TALK. What is that age for you, Mom or Dad?
Do you remember when the Affordable Care Act was first signed into law, and the idea that, hey, you stay on your parents' health insurance until you're like 27, is it 27?
26.
26,
I think
27?
it's your 26th birthday or something like that, because I've had a couple of kids come off of it.
And so that was like, that was passed in 2009, 2010, somewhere in that range. And I remember the reaction was, holy cow, that's a long time to be on Mom and Dad's insurance, like 27. Like,
get your own insurance.
Come on, move on already, right? And you hear this now. I've heard people talk about this, like, when do I actually take my kids off my cell phone plan? And when do I take them off my car insurance? And,
the Netflix account.
All of these things that go into it. So, I mean, I look at this and say, look, we talked about this a little bit in the last segment. It's difficult to launch, and things have gotten more expensive, and so that can be a challenge. Education is more expensive, housing is more expensive, all of these things. And that is something that, yes, in many cases, if push came to shove, in all cases, if push came to shove, the kid's got to go figure it out. Once you're 18, you are an adult, and guess what? You can have to go figure it out. Anything Mom and Dad do beyond that point is the grace of Mom and Dad, and you should be very grateful for it. But I think most parents, when they can, would like to help their kids launch well. So I think it becomes problematic less with an age number and more so when that help is expected. When it comes with no ambition, I'm not looking for something to go do, and I have no game plan, right? Like, so, we talk about our Jeopardy guy here. He just graduated from college, and so now he's a stay-at-home son. It doesn't sound like he wants to be a stay-at-home son. He's trying to get a job. He's in a transition period, and mom and dad are there to help for a bit, hopefully with an idea that fly the nest here shortly. Go get a job.
But I like those 3 bullet points that you brought up because I think it helps me wrap my brain about, like, how do I feel about that? But he even said to TV in Canada that he feels like he might be overstaying his welcome.
I figured, if I lose, I might as well make some people laugh. It's always nice to make people laugh, and I think it's good to be fun and not just, serious trivia guy.
Our stay-at-home son, Brendan, will select first in the double Jeopardy round.
How do your parents feel about being parents of the stay-at-home son?
I mean, I think they prefer professional loiterer at this point. It's the stay is getting a little too much. I think they want to promote me to away from home son soon-ish. I am still a stay-at-home son. I have not found employment since taping. So if there's anyone out there who wants to hire a guy who's mildly amusing and has broad-based knowledge, please contact me. I'm looking for gainful employment.
He's 27, graduated with a master's degree in political science, and it sounds like he is trying to get a job. And maybe mom and dad are getting ready to say, go ahead.
You could argue that he had a $60,000 a year job if he earned $60,000 on Jeopardy that year. But I think mom and dad are less concerned about that and more so on, hey, let's get out of the house and go do that.
I was just waving Caitlin into the studio because she just sent me a text that said, I can talk about this. I wish I would have stayed home longer. And then she ends that with LOL. So she's going to join us in just a moment about why she wishes. She's, 30? Caitlin, you're 30? Give me a thumbs up. She just turned 30 in February. Hi, Carl. What's the age that you think that kids need to move out of the house?
Oh, I think it's somewhere around 19, right
19.
after high school graduation. I remember my upbringing and my wife's upbringing, and it was like having an apartment with peers, friends.
Yeah.
I went on a mission. I came back. I went to college. Those days are irreplaceable, I feel, making social contact with people your age and
that's a good point.
Having experiences together.
Yeah, that's a good point. It forces you to grow up. Like, you got to cook your own meals. You got to figure out where your next meal is coming from.
It's the interesting thing, though, because, all respect to my parents, and I love my parents, have a great relationship with my parents. But at 18, I was ready to get out of the house, right? It wasn't like they're pushing me. It's like, no, this is the next thing, and I'd like to be in charge of my own life. And so let's get on a path to economic viability. And it was a long path to economic viability, but I wanted to get out and kind of go do my own thing. So it's when I go back to that point I made. If you're not showing that ambition or having a game plan to go do it, that's where you get concerned, I think, more as a parent to say, I can kind of help you. This transition isn't automatic. You throw your cap and gown in high school, and the next day you've got to be out and finding a place and so on. But I want a game plan. I want ambition. I want you to say, this is what I think I'm going to go do. This is my plan to go do it. And then let's figure out how to help bridge that transition.
Caitlin, you sent a text. You said, oh, I wish I would have stayed at home longer.
Yeah.
When did you get out of the house?
I moved technically out of my parents' house out of Price, Utah when I was 18 or 19, right after I graduated that fall when I went to college. But I moved in with another family member, so I was still kind of living at home-ish.
It's not the
I wasn't
same.
paying rent. I was working, but I was primarily going to school. But then my big move, I was like, okay, when I turn 21, I want to be on my own. And it is because of that freedom element a little bit, but also like, okay, I feel like I'm ready. There's just I have mixed feelings about that, but it's also, I just wish I would have had more in savings, I think, when I did that, because once you're out, and it's really hard to keep up with financial things, and that's the end right now. But I also feel like there's nothing wrong if you have the option to hit a little reset button, and when you're 30 or 28, or you might need a little pause, go home for a little bit and catch up. But that's why I'm like, that's not an option really for me because of my family mostly being at Price.
Yeah. So take me back to your 20-year-old self or 18-year-old self. You couldn't wait to get out of the house, it sounds like.
I just wanted to go to school mainly, but I was a little more eager once I turned 21, and I was like, okay, I want to be able to to say I'm on my own. I just was kind of craving a little bit more independence.
But now your 30-year-old self looking back says what to your 21-year-old self?
Have more savings. Stay a little bit longer, make more money, save your money so you have a cushion before you run out of cushion.
So it sounds like you are thinking strategy.
Yeah.
You could have strategized more before you packed up and headed to Salt Lake.
Yes. And there's also the sidebar of I know people who have stayed at home, and I think we've been dealt a tough hand of cards, I think, with the economy, if you're 30 or so, because I have a friend who's just turned 30. He just barely moved out, but I totally understood why he was staying the entire time, because it's tough out there, and he was being smart about saving his money and doing things right, and now he's got a good savings account while he's paying his rent. And so, yeah, it's kind of a complicated issue, because when you're young and you're in that situation, you want to move out and you want the freedom, but you learn a lot of lessons once you do that. So I don't regret that I did that, but I would maybe think a little harder.
It's too bad we can't live backwards.
Yeah, and I'm fine. You can hit the reset button. Just try.
The other thing I think about is that there are a number of things that you have to pay for now that, like, when I left, I wasn't worried about, like, well, how do I pay for Wi-Fi? That didn't exist, right? It wasn't. No one had a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
So automatically, you've got some bills that you have to pay that you wouldn't have had to.
I will just say the one thing: when I moved out, it was around I think it was 2016. Rent was a lot different then than it was now. It was probably about $1,000 for like a 2-bed, 2-bath. That is not easy to find now.
Yeah.
So, and I was splitting that.
I think my wife and I paid $750 for our first apartment that was a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment.
Yeah,
you can't get that now.
Well, I won't even go back to what I was paying in 1990. I'll make you all jealous. Caitlin, thank you so much for jumping in. Straight ahead, this one's right up Marty's alley. Marty Carpenter sitting in with me today. He's been a political strategist in Utah for quite some time, ran 3 governor's races. You didn't run in them, but you actually ran the campaigns for them. And he's also secretly the biggest hockey fan I know. So when he saw this new study that says Utah ranks 24 on a new survey for the best places to be a hockey fan, are you going to tell us how to get to number 1?
Sure. I can tell you why you're 24 at least.
Okay. Let's go and take a deep dive into that and why it's so important for all the investment that we're putting into downtown Salt Lake City in terms of taxpayer money and team investment. We're going to talk about that in the 11 o'clock hour.
Are you looking to invest in your home, increase its livability, increase its value, increase its curb appeal? Well, doors and windows are a great place to start, and there's no better place to start than Peach Doors and Windows.
Maybe the purpose of your home has changed. Maybe you're an empty nester, or you just want to maximize the view of your home. Bring Peach your wish list. Think about out-of-the-box shapes and sizes. What you can imagine, Peach Doors and Windows can make happen. They can do renovations that other companies simply won't touch.
You can check out all of their 5-star reviews on Google, where customers rate Peach throughout every step of the process. From sales to installation, they will make sure you get exactly what you want. Check out their website at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can give them a call, 801-566-1255. They do free in-home estimates.
Or better yet, check them out in person, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, or check them out online, peachbuildingproducts.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk. a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
Buying a home can be challenging. Good thing Mountain America Credit Union is on your side. With our homegrown home loans, you'll receive the local guidance and friendly service to finance your dream home. Plus, for a limited time, you'll get a free appraisal. Apply for your Mountain America Homegrown Home Loan today. Details at macu.com/mortgage. On approved credit, membership required based on eligibility. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Some restrictions apply. Equal housing lender. NMLS ID 462815.
I want the news stories to really capture the environment that the story took place in.
Midday, all new from noon to 3.
I really want to take you to that spot where the community is really making an improvement in their neighborhood through a cleanup project, where the Cross Guard is helping those children cross the street.
Midday.
Those are the stories that really have an impact on you.
Midday with Maria Chaleos. Listen between noon and 3 on KSL News Radio. KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour, updating the story of a missing girl from South Jordan. Police say they've now arrested 2 of the people they're looking for in the case. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has details.
South Jordan police say they've booked 2 men into the Salt Lake County Jail after investigators claim they were in contact with 15-year-old Elisa Petroff before she went missing more than a month ago. Police say Matthew Menard from Florida turned himself in, and that they've also arrested Samuel Mitchell from Harriman. They're being accused of sexual exploitation of a minor. As of last update, the 3rd suspect, William Glines, is in custody in Texas.
Petrov was last seen taking a front-runner train to Provo on April 21st. Police believe she was trying to get to Las Vegas. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The search continues for an escaped inmate in Northwest Arkansas today. Police say Grant Harden, a former police officer, was serving time for rape and murder. More from ABC's Faith Abube.
He was serving decades in prison for rape and murder. And so how was he able to just casually walk out of that prison? You remember there was a filed court affidavit saying that a corrections officer actually opened the secured gate for Harden to walk out of that prison. There's supposed to be a verification process according to the DOC, and there seems to have been a lapse in that process. That is under investigation as well.
Authorities say they've heard from people about potential sightings, but those haven't led to any credible leads. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up now 32 points, the S&P gaining 23, the NASDAQ in the green 120 points. Coming up, we'll look at the weekend forecast. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Ready to order?
Yes.
We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to Bundle Deal Days at AutoZone.
Well, I do need a bundle of things.
When you bundle, you save.
Do I save if I bundle oil with an oil filter?
Save up to $12 on that bundle.
What about brake pads and rotors?
Bundle those and the brake pads are free.
Can't save more than free.
You can save on hundreds of deals during Bundle Deal Days. Ends June 2nd at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply. Duralast brake pads only.
Pantheon Clinical Research is conducting a clinical study for children and teens. Is your child struggling with bipolar depression? If your child is between 10 and 17 years old and experiencing symptoms of depression associated with bipolar disorder, such as persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, trouble sleeping, low energy, difficulty concentrating, or even suicidal thoughts, Pantheon Clinical Research may be able to help. We are ready to take your call anytime. Call our phone lines at Pantheon Clinical Research at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550. We're conducting a no-cost clinical study for children and teens facing bipolar depression. Participants will receive study-related care, medical tests, and investigational treatment from a dedicated medical team, all at no cost and with no health insurance required. Call Pantheon Clinical Research today at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550, or visit our website at pantheonclinical.com to learn more. Hope starts here.
Repair or replace your roof now during S&S Roofing's huge spring sale. 12 months interest-free financing. The highest value roofing job in Utah. Dial pound 250 and then say S&S Roofing.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Heather Kelly.
We do have a crash in Tooele City. This is on SR 36. That's Main Street, heading southbound right in the intersection of 1280 North. You have the two right lanes blocked. That's a right turn lane and the right lane that goes through the intersection. That just leaves the one left lane available, and that has traffic backed up to 2000 North. The good news is we don't have any other delays or slowdowns across the Wasatch Front. I-15, the east and west side belt routes, and I-80 all look good. All tickets are now on sale, so claim your spot and start planning your perfect Park City night. Details at DeerValleyMusicFestival.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Summer weather is here. We're almost breaking that 90-degree benchmark today. That's what I'm trying to say. And then tomorrow we will hit it. Saturday, Sunday, we will surpass it, getting into the mid-90s. Right now it's 78 degrees and partly sunny. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, he may have navigated 3 gubernatorial campaigns here in the state of Utah, and he absolutely did. And he may be a recognizable political analyst right here on KSL News Radio, and he certainly is. Marty Carpenter has another side to him.
Those are just my hobbies. My passion is something else.
What is your passion?
Hockey. It's hockey.
It's crazy to me. Did you play hockey?
I did not. So I grew up here, and then I moved to Colorado just before I started high school. I'll give you the abbreviated version here. By the time I graduated from high school, the Quebec Nordiques had moved to Denver and became the Colorado Avalanche, and I worked on the TV crew, pulling cables, setting up cameras, that kind of stuff. That team won the Stanley Cup their very first year in Denver, and I had a front row seat to watch it. I got to learn hockey from some of the biggest names in Canadian hockey media, and I just was absolutely hooked and have been ever since.
Well, and we brought this hockey team, not we, Ryan Smith, but this Ryan and Ashley Smith, right?
Did you buy a ticket?
Then you helped
pay for it then.
I've gone to 2, maybe a third game. They brought the team. I thought it was a big year for us. And then there's this big investment into downtown that's going to happen through, Salt Lake City and and sales tax and an investment from the Utah Hockey Club and Smith Entertainment Group and, all the things where they're going to start remodeling downtown. And they already are remodeling the Delta Center. And so when I saw that Salt Lake City ranked number 24 on a new survey that came out about, what are the places for the best cities? Yeah, best hockey cities. We're number 24. I'm like, what do we got to do around here to become number one?
A lot more than you can do. I can tell you that looking at the study.
Okay, so walk me through, as the biggest hockey fan I know, what you are seeing in this Wallet Hub survey that stands out to you, Marty, and why we landed at number 24 and maybe not a little higher up the list.
Let's start here. You shouldn't worry about where you are on the Wallet Hub list. That's not what matters.
I was
what
a
matters
little
is
bit offended, though.
What matters is whether or not you win the Stanley Cup, and that's the only thing that matters, and that's one of the most beautiful things about hockey. So the Wallet Hub ranking is interesting, but not something anybody should.
What did you find interesting about it?
But here's what I find interesting. You say, how do we get to number one? You can't, because there's an 80% weight here for what you do with your NHL hockey fandom and 20% what you do for your NCAA hockey fandom. That's why Boston is number one here. Boston has an NHL team. They've had it for 101 years. They've won many Stanley Cups. They were an original 6 team.
Okay.
They also are home to probably 6 of the 15 best college hockey programs in the country. There's no way you're going to get that 20%. We don't even really have college hockey here as like a sanctioned non-club sport.
We have high school hockey, though.
Yeah. But the college one for this ranking, you're never going to catch Boston there. So there's just number
win,
one's not in.
They win there. Okay.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons. But that doesn't mean like, oh, let's give up hope. And there's no reason for Utah to really become a very strong hockey market. I have maintained for a decade before the Utah Hockey Club and now Utah Mammoth showed up that hockey is the one sport that I think would do really, really well in this market. And I'm convinced that's still going to be the case, even more so after their first year in play here.
So Boston is number one. Detroit, is that the Red Wings?
That is the Red Wings.
I remember that now. Okay, Red Wings. You like the Red Wings?
I hate the Red Wings.
Okay. I have no comment.
Hate's
on
a
the
strong
Red
word,
Wings.
but it applies.
You dislike Pittsburgh.
Debbie, let me tell you how much
number
I don't
3.
like the Detroit Red Wings. You'll find this interesting.
He's got to go there.
The guy who owns the company, the man who owned the Red Wings forever, he's passed away now, is the same guy who owns Little Caesars Pizza. This was my team's biggest rival through the 90s and 2000s. Okay. I haven't had Little Caesars Pizza since the Avalanche became a team. It's not allowed in my house. So that's the kind of fandom we're talking about.
Well, don't worry about it. I bought enough pizza for both your family, my family, and everybody.
Stop funding my hockey rivals. Stop
it. So Pittsburgh's number 3. New York is number 4.
Which makes sense. They have 2 teams there and really 3 teams 4 or 5 teams in the general metro area.
Well, in Newark, I never say that
Newark,
right.
New Jersey.
Newark,
That's
New Jersey.
The New Jersey
I
Devils.
Never say that right. That's why I never say it on the air. In Denver, your team, the Avalanche, right? Number 6.
Colorado's up there, and when you look at the way this ranking is done, you've got a team that's been very successful, 3 Stanley Cups in the past 29 years, and then on the college side, the University of Denver is one of the top college programs in the country. That's in large part why Denver ranks up so much higher.
I think what's really important is the continued success of the Utah Hockey Club when it comes to like drawing the fans downtown. And I am hopeful that by remodeling downtown, which is obviously part of the plan, and the Delta Center, that they will be able to increase the number of ticket sales and also just people coming downtown for the vibe of it all. I mean, there's going to be a huge taxpayer investment in that. And so I think there's no room for failure in that. We've got to be successful. And I will tell you, when I was down here for I think it was the 2 hockey games I went to. I was trying to think. There was another game. I think I went to a Jazz game too. I did go to a Jazz game with some good friends of mine, and that was a blast as well. The continued success of both of these teams is just going to be really, really important for the vibe in downtown and revitalizing downtown. But also, I think there's something else that maybe it's unique, maybe it's not. You know a lot more about hockey than I do. Is also including the other cities in Utah's hockey success. So I talk about Sandy City and the practice facility that I drive by at Southtown Mall. And then there was this pitch that I read about not too long ago about going to other cities and seeing if they could excite other cities about getting youth hockey up and running in those cities, or maybe making it more viable in those cities.
Yeah, it's one challenge hockey has over basketball because there are basketball courts everywhere, and they don't cost a whole lot to build a basketball court. You can make them out of concrete in a park. You can they're in church houses throughout the entire state, and they're in every high school. Hockey rinks cost more. They take up more space. They have to be cooled. They have to be resurfaced. All of those things. So there's a bigger challenge there. But it is one of those things that I love what I've heard from the ownership group with the Smith Entertainment Group, that they want to invest in hockey rinks throughout the state, because one of those driving forces that's made basketball such a mainstay here is not just the accessibility of it, but the organization of it. That the junior jazz program, I'm 47 years old. I played junior jazz probably starting when I was 7 years old. So I went through all of that program. So what are you going to have on the hockey side? Are you going to have the mini mammoth or whatever they're going to come up with to name it? If you're going to have the sport really take hold here, you do need to go not only start at the top level and say we need to get fans in the building and people buying sweaters and people cheering on the team and subscribing to watch, but you also need to go start investing in those grassroots and say we need the kids who are going to be these fans in 20 years, 30 years, who are buying season tickets or buying luxury suites or whatever, they're bringing their family to the game. We need to make sure we're getting them at this point. So that investment will be really important, and I think ultimately is going to have a really big impact on the way hockey succeeds here. And I'm convinced it's going to succeed here. It fits too perfectly with our culture here in Utah. It's a hardworking sport. It's a team-first sport. It's always we, not me. Individuals take the blame and share the credit. And that just, I think, fits in so perfectly to the way that Utah works as a community. And I'm convinced that as soon as that team makes the playoffs, and that could happen as early as next year, and people here get a taste of what playoff hockey is like, it's unlike anything else in professional sports. And this place will get really rabid about that hockey team when that happens.
Jay Stevens, host of the Utah Puck Report. Jay, meet Marty if you haven't met Marty already. Second biggest hockey fan I know. I called him the biggest hockey fan I know, but then I realized, oh no, Jay's on the line, and you're the biggest hockey fan I know. So you're in good competition here with Marty. So Marty made me feel like I shouldn't worry about being number 24 on this list, especially so soon out of the gates. I've been really impressed with the team and also the draw the team has had of fans downtown. And I think it's really important that we keep that up. Because we're investing a lot of money in downtown for not only the Utah Hockey Club, now the Mammoth, but also the Jazz. So what's your take on landing number 24 on this Wallet Hub list of best cities for hockey fans?
Well, so far I've loved everything Marty has said, and I agree 100%. And I'll just add to a couple of the things that he said is that, yeah, Boston's been at it for a long time, and they do have a lot of a lot of universities that have already been NCAA, basically since the inception of NCAA hockey. But we're behind the game, but I guarantee next year our hockey team's going to be better. We have two teams that are currently positioning themselves. University of Utah and Weber State are positioning themselves to go NCAA, and they already have rinks on campus. They're already built. They're ready to go. And they're waiting for the NHL to do their impacts or their studies and their sustainability studies. And, with the building improvements, that was one of the things this Wallet Hub that they ranked us on. Well, last year we had 11,000 official, and now we're going to have 14,000 official, and then next season we'll have 18,000 officials. So we're going to increase in all those realms too. And we're also growing with more rinks. There's a rink in St. George that's in its approval stages. It's going to be a 12,000-seat arena, a 10 to 12,000-seat arena. And you've got, like you were mentioning, Smith Entertainment Group offering to pony up some money if the cities will do it. And you've got cities like Tooele that have got groups going for it. Saratoga Springs has a group putting together a proposal. And you're going to see this all over the state. So we're going to have more and more hockey players. The goal, and you brought up Junior Jazz, the goal is for the Junior Mammoth to have 70,000 players and for us to be one of the largest hockey markets in the country. If not, we want to be the state of hockey. Brian and Ashley Smith have made no secrets about that. They come right out and say it. But they're going to grow it through the youth programs, and they're going to put a lot of money into those youth programs and make it better. So investing, and you saw yesterday The Mammoth signed 2 of their first-round picks from 2 years ago. I mean, this is a 6th and 12th pick overall, and they're big bodies that'll help us go into the playoffs and maybe, advance a couple rounds into the playoffs. So, yeah, 24, first year out of the gate, not bad, not great, but, if they do this again next year, I guarantee we're higher in that rank.
Yeah, Jay Stevens is the host of the Utah Puck Report. Jay, do you agree with me that more so than being 24 in the Wallet Hub survey, being in the top 16 in the league where you get into the playoffs next year is actually what will make the biggest difference? Because I don't think there's anything that will catch the attention of the people in this state quite like having a team go, even if it's, in the first year, a single round of playoff hockey, but at some point to make a little bit of a run. I think that's going to make the biggest difference and take this from, oh yeah, we've got a hockey team. Oh yeah, I've heard something about that. I'm interested in that, to, hey, I'm totally on board and I'm all about this.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more addictive in the sports world than NHL playoff hockey. There's nothing else like it in the world. It's
nothing will crush
physical.
your spirits like that either.
That's very true, but that's one of the great things about it. And our fans ate up the game this year. They loved it. Every fan that came to a game, I've been doing this podcast for 9 years, and nobody cared. Nobody knew who I was in that KSL building, and then all of a sudden I get calls every day from somebody wanting to know something, and it's just exploding in this state.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, and we so appreciate you answering your phone, because we do call you a lot. I want to get this in from Chip Lupo. He's an analyst for Wallet Hub. So Caitlin Johnston, behind the scenes, our producer, always working around the clock for us here. She dialed him up just a few minutes ago and asked him on our behalf to explain what has to happen in Salt Lake City to keep the hockey community growing here.
24 is a pretty solid number for a city that's on a franchise for about an hour and a half, it seems, because, the Utah Hockey Club, now the Utah Mammoth, came in a year ago. In order to elevate, you have to build a tradition. If you look at the top of the list, cities like Boston, Detroit, Pittsburgh, some of those were part of the original 6 from when NHL was first formed. So you have to build a tradition. You have to win some championships, or at least compete championships. But what Utah has going for it, it's a very solid fan base. It's sports crazy. The Utah Jazz, they're the talk of the town. But what'll be interesting to see is how much interest is in the franchise itself, because a lot of times when a new sports franchise comes to town, it's drawing the fans from other teams, particularly in an area like Salt Lake where people are moving in from other states. Anytime a new franchise comes to town, there's always room to grow. So it'll take a while again for the community to embrace the franchise itself. But I think over time, of course, it comes down to winning. So you have to be successful in order to keep those fans engaged.
The other opportunity the Mammoth have is that I think they're closer to being good and back in the playoffs than the Jazz are. I'm not as much of an NBA guy, but that would be, I think, a fairly safe thing to say at this point. So if that's the case, can they take advantage of that? And this coming season, the couple seasons after that, can they sort of take that playoff spotlight while maybe the Jazz are still in a rebuild?
And Jay, they haven't really wasted any time getting started on the reconstruction at the Delta Center, right? I mean, they're in the midst of it right now.
Yeah, we were there for the name drop, and they literally started tearing apart the lower bowl the day after the last Jazz game. So I believe that was April 14th. The Mammoth, or the Utah Hockey Club at that point, finished their season, and then the Jazz played the next night, and then there were bulldozers in the arena just doing damage and making room for new seats. And this is going to be new technology, and it's just going to be, as we've seen from SEG, they just make everything so much fun, and they go for the fan experience. So by puck drop in October, we're going to have more seats and a really cool arena to watch the Mammoth perform in.
So does it look like the reconstruction project, at least for the Delta Center, is on track to be wrapped in time? I guess you got to hope so.
Yeah, they are working 24 hours a day. They really don't stop while they're in there. Same way they built their practice facility, and they're going to have that up and going in time. Typically these are 2-year builds, and they're doing them in a year. And obviously the Delta Center is going in phases, right? Phase 1 is this lower bowl with this wall of fans and the retractable seating and raising the ice so there are no bad seats on the lower bowl. And then Phase 2 next year will be, I believe, half of upper bowl will be changed, so there are no bad seats in upper bowl, and then we'll do the other side of the upper bowl. So from what I'm hearing, and I do try to stay pretty involved with the Smith Entertainment Group and talk to their people almost daily, everything's on track. The practice facility's on track. The youth hockey's on track. Delta Center's on track. So, yeah, we're putting the right pieces in place.
Sounds good. Jay Stevens, host of the Utah Puck Report. Also, we found out today, employee at KSL. I'm kidding you, Jay. Are you still there? I'm kidding.
It's definitely happened in the last couple of years that a lot of people are like, oh, we have a guy?
You're awesome, Jay. We're so glad we've got a guy. You're awesome, and so appreciate your willingness to sort through these issues with us as we learn more about, hockey, NHL in Utah. Jay Stevens, you could check out his podcast. He's the host of the Utah Puck Report. Marty, I'll give the second biggest hockey fan I know the final word. How's that?
Hockey's going to work in Utah, and it's going to be a really big thing here, and only going to grow, especially as that team, which is not far away from being a playoff team. Depends on what they do, I think, in the offseason. Add some free agents. It's going to be a really big thing here for a really long time.
The Debbie Downer moment, I worry newness wears off. So I guess I'm not giving you the final word. Do you worry that newness wears off? I mean, it's the new shiny thing in Utah.
You want the newness to wear off, and you want tradition to set in. And so you want to make sure that's a tradition of winning, and that's the one thing they've got to go figure out.
Thank you for that insight. Straight ahead, we're going to get an update on a missing girl out of South Jordan. She's been missing for several weeks now. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has been tracking some developments on that story. He's up next.
I want the news stories to really capture the environment that the story took place in.
Midday, all new from noon to 3.
I really want to take you to that spot where the community is really making an improvement in their neighborhood through a cleanup project, where the Cross Guard is helping those children cross the street.
Midday.
Those are the stories that really have an impact on you.
Midday with Maria Chaleos. Listen between noon and 3 on KSL News Radio.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Why do we fear change perhaps more than anything in our lives? Uncertainty and the unknown can trigger our frontal brains to fight or flight, and these days it's more fight than it is flight. But change is always part of the human condition, and even the best changes like a dream job or a marriage can bring new difficulties. One thing that's always true about change is that it looks different in retrospect. The worst thing that ever happened in my career turned out to be the best thing. When people ask me about how to live with organizational change, my advice almost always is lean in. Instead of resisting, try supporting and then redirecting. Learn more about dealing with change in an MBA program from Utah State. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
The Utah RV Palooza is ready for another round of RV savings. But this time, we're hooking you up, South Salt Lake County. June 5th through the 7th, we're bringing our packed inventory of new and used RVs to you on Harriman Main Street, just south of Winco. Shop all the best RV brands fit for any budget and all at show pricing. You'll find payments starting under $139 per month on approved credit on select new RVs and clearance pricing on all remaining new 2024s while they last. You'll also get 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. Start shopping the best deals now at UtahRVPalooza.com. And it's the only show featuring the full lineup from Wayfinder RV, available exclusively through Bish's. Plus, every RV purchase receives a free 1-year RV Fix membership, your fast track to RV service repairs. All this plus free admission to the Utah RV Palooza, June 5th through the 7th on Harriman Main Street, just south of Winco. See you in Harriman.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 89922. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details. Deal number 822B426B.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. For years now, I've been telling you about Connecticut soft water systems that use 2/3 less salt than the others. But I've never told you exactly how they do that. Well, there are several ways, so consider this as part 1 in a series. Most of the softeners out there use a finicky, hard-to-adjust computer to guesstimate when to cycle, and it errs on the side of cycling too often, which means it'll burn through way too much salt way too soon. Connecticut is different. It has an all-mechanical system that measures the water precisely. No computer, no guesstimating, so it cycles only when needed. The result? Connecticut delivers perfectly quality soft water 24/7 using minimal salt. So why not save your lower back from carrying the 3 bags of salt when all you need is 1? Call Northern Utah's authorized Connecticut dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake. Call them now, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com and tell them Doug sent you.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to Bundle Deal Days at AutoZone.
Well, I do need a bundle of things.
When you bundle, you save.
Do I save if I bundle oil with an oil filter?
Save up to $12 on that bundle.
What about brake pads and rotors?
Bundle those and the brake pads are free.
Can't save more than free.
You can save on hundreds of deals during Bundle Deal Days. Ends June 2nd at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply. Duralast brake pads only.
The success you've already had matters at University of Maryland Global Campus because we're a school for real life. An accredited state university, UMGC lets you earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning, life, and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer affordable tuition and online and hybrid courses. No application fee if you apply by May 30th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
All in together now, we can make it better, can we do it? We rope it up, cause we know how to jump.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. Are we headed toward a recession? KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has a look at the indicators.
Investors, economists, families, the word recession can strike fear in all of them. Zions Bank senior economist Robert Spenlove says right now the indicators aren't quite there yet for a recession, but it's not an exact science because all the data, it looks backward. And yes, he says they do look for what they call soft indicators, such as people dressing nicer at work to impress their boss and shoppers turning to cheaper options at the store.
Spenlove puts the chances of going into a recession at 40% right now, but he says a lot of people predicted a recession 2 years ago and it didn't happen. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Another ceasefire deal in Gaza is on the table.
An Israeli official telling ABC News that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, he's proposed this plan that essentially it calls for Hamas to release 10 living hostages and the bodies of 18 deceased hostages. That's in exchange for a 60-day ceasefire and the release of Palestinian prisoners. Now, a senior Hamas official also talking to ABC saying that the IDF would withdraw to a buffer zone and that the U.S. would guarantee that talks would start in those 60 days to try and permanently end the war.
ABC's Ian Pinnell reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 25 points, the S&P gaining 18 points, the NASDAQ is up 90 points. Coming up, it's getting hot out there. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Let's talk again about Mountain Home Services. Mountain Home Services can offer you all kinds of different services. Things like maybe you need your HVAC work done. You know, maybe your air conditioning isn't quite up to par as we start to warm up this week. Also, they can look at your plumbing. Maybe you've got a clogged drain that's been annoying, or you need your electrical updated. It all comes with the upfront pricing guarantee. That's what you get with Mountain Home Services, which means the price that they quote you before they start the job, so they come out and they give you that bid, the price that they quote you is the price you pay when the job is done. That's what the upfront pricing guarantee is, which also means there's no hidden fees, and you get 100% satisfaction guarantee. So you should give them a call today and ask about the special offer for KSL listeners. You can get a hold of them online by just clicking on mountainhomeservices.com. That's mountainhomeservices.com. Or let me give you the phone number. They'd love to hear from you. 801-543-2222. One more time, 801-543-2222.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
It looks like traffic is moving through the area once again where a right lane had been blocked with a crash in Tooele on SR 36 Main Street going southbound at 1280 North. Traffic is there's still a little bit of backup in the area, so we're just waiting for that to clear out. If you're traveling any of the Valley freeways, you're good to go. Just a little bit of busy traffic southbound on I-15 going through Sandy. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We just might hit our first 90-degree day for the year, and it's a little bit early in the season. We've got a heat wave happening through the weekend. High today, 89 degrees, getting all the way to a predicted 94 degrees on Sunday. Right now, it's 80 degrees and partly sunny. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Sort of behind the scenes, I've been tracking the developments with this missing 15-year-old girl out of South Jordan, Utah. Her name's Alyssa. She's been missing, last seen on April 21st. So end of May. It's been more than a month. I haven't talked about it a lot on air. But I'm sure, like a lot of people in the community and her parents, Marty, the more this goes on, I can't imagine what her parents are going through.
Yeah, obviously a really challenging time for that family, and it looks like law enforcement at least is making what may be some progress.
Yeah, so we're going to get developments on this case from our very own Adam Small, who is tracking the most recent developments. In just a moment. I want to just keep Adam on hold. Just wait a moment, Adam, to bring us that update, because I want to backtrack just a bit with the help of our colleague Andrew Adams at KSL5 TV, who not too long ago sat down with Alyssa's parents about her disappearance. And I want to remind you that as of right now, from what we know, and maybe we'll get more of an update from Adam Small, that police have characterized her as a runaway juvenile who is endangered.
The teacher said she never seen her that day.
It began on April 21st.
She entered the building. She didn't make it to the classroom.
Instead of attending classes here in American Fork or simply grabbing a snack at the neighboring gas station, 15-year-old Elisa Petrov told two boys about her plan to run away.
They tell her, no, don't do it, but I guess she went away for it anyway.
Olga and Nikolai Petrov say their daughter then hitched a ride to this train station and got off the train in Provo.
She asked the girl to get her a ticket in exchange of cash for the bus to Las Vegas.
Elisa hasn't been seen since.
We couldn't even sleep, for the whole week.
The Petrovs say in the past 6 months, they did have a talk about interacting with strangers online.
Discord, but I think she was using Snapchat, TikTok. We told her, do you know this person? Do you know this person? If not, we were deleting them, right?
Though Elisa was always on her phone, including that final Sunday on the ski slopes, the parents say there's been no activity on social media in nearly 2 weeks' time, and the teen hasn't responded to messages. They now fear she may have even been lured away or trafficked.
That's what we're suspecting at the moment. We have no confirmation, but concerns are.
Mom says South Jordan police are looking into those possibilities and others that could have taken her to Vegas or parts unknown.
If she's in Las Vegas, it might be really dangerous. Somebody can abuse her. It's very bad.
Until they find her.
The whole life is upside down right now.
The Petrovs are simply hoping for Elisa's safe return.
We need her back. We miss her.
And for context, that was Andrew Adams' story of KSL5 television. It aired right around the beginning of May 5th. And unfortunately, Alyssa is still missing, Marty.
KSL News Radio reporter Adam Small joins us now. Adam, there have been some developments here. Can you tell us what's the latest?
Yeah, guys, so today the new information is that South Jordan police, we haven't gotten a lot of new info about Alyssa or where she might be, but we do know that police have arrested 2 people in connection to her disappearance. They've arrested a man from Florida named Matthew Menard, and then also a man from Harriman named Samuel Mitchell. They're being accused of several different potential counts if prosecutors decide to actually formally charge them. Menard has been formally charged, though Mitchell is not yet that we know of. They're being accused of sexual exploitation of a minor, a few different things that they could potentially end up in court for. They're being accused of basically communicating with Elisa before she went missing. The man from Harriman I mentioned actually received a message from Petrov 2 days before she ended up taking that train to Provo, and the last time that we saw her on April 21st. In that message, she basically says, "I'm running away. Please don't contact me." But we know that police have investigated 3 men total, 1 man who's in police custody in Texas. But now, as of overnight developments, 2 men, 1 from Florida, 1 from Harriman, now booked into the Salt Lake County Jail, accused of not only communicating with Petrov, but having a very and I had to read through these documents, very sexually explicit conversations with her.
So I want to just make sure we're really clear on this, Adam. The connection here is they were alleged to have been chatting with her online. Is that right? Not physically coming in contact with her, but chatting with her online. Is that where police are at with this part of the investigation?
Right, exactly, Debbie. So what police and investigators have written in the documents we've obtained between arrest documents, court documents, even a search warrant we got our hands on, Elisa was, according to police, speaking with multiple men on social media apps. It sounds like Snapchat a little bit, maybe text messages from what I was reading. But what the man from Harriman, that was accused of speaking with her and having these inappropriate conversations with her. Well, those conversations took place on Discord, according to investigators. That app is seeing that pop up a lot more with kids Elisa's age. But yeah, they basically have questioned all these men, and one of them, the man from Florida, prosecutors are alleging that he actually was the one that was trying to arrange a meetup with her in Las Vegas. Now, if that allegation is true, it's unclear if she would still go to Vegas, because now Menard, he was charged almost 2 weeks ago formally, but he just turned himself in the last day or two and is now in police custody here in Utah. So if she, again, the big question mark still is, while these 2 men are in police custody, it's still unclear where Elisa would go, whether that's Las Vegas or somewhere else, now that police are with these men.
We're speaking live right now to KSL News Radio's Adam Small, who's bringing us an update on what police have characterized as a runaway juvenile who's endangered. It's 15-year-old Elisa Petrov. She lives in South Jordan, and then was last seen more than a month ago. And Adam, I'm wondering how vocal police have been about this. Would assume that South Jordan PD is kind of lead agency on this investigation. But what do we know specifically about that? Is there another agency involved that's assisting? Where are they going with this from here? What are they saying about that?
So from everything I've been reading and everything we've obtained, South Jordan police are definitely the ones that are spearheading this investigation, but they have had to collaborate with police in 2 different states because, again, we have 3 suspects. 2 of them are from out of state. So police did work to obtain evidence from some of Menard's property in Florida. So there was some cross-collaboration there. And then also I did see some old social media posts from police in Texas. After that suspect was arrested, they were basically shouting from the mountaintops, if any of you know anything about Elisa Petrov, where she might be, please reach out to us. South Jordan police are looking for her. And right now, that's still kind of the in limbo phase that we're in right now. South Jordan police are still just asking anyone who has any information about where Elisa could be to reach out, because in terms of her whereabouts, we're still stuck on she took a train to Provo. That's the last time we saw her, and she may have been going to Vegas, but that isn't even really set in stone either. So that's really the big thing now is they're just basically begging people for information to try to find this girl.
Well, I just think it's really important we keep, as much as we can, keep her photo out there. We have this posted at KSLNewsRadio.com. What about our social media pages? Where can people go see her photo, Adam, and even maybe share it on their social media pages?
Yes, so we have posted Elisa's picture on our website, KSLNewsRadio.com. Our colleagues, KSL TV and KSL.com, have all been very active in reporting on her story as well. But you can go to KSLNewsRadio.com. I also just shared our most recent article this morning on my X and Facebook pages. So if you follow me on my personal accounts, you can find it there as well. And yeah, the biggest thing I think we can do at this point is we'll keep in contact with police the best we can on how their investigation is going. But right now, I think, I mean, in the few years I've worked in the media, and we've seen, missing kids found. Oftentimes it comes after people just spam that share button. That's really the best thing people can do until we learn more.
KSL News Radio reporter Adam Small, thanks so much for your insight on this and your reporting on this difficult story. Yeah. If you're having trouble, we're going to shift gears. This is kind of like without the clutch, but let me try to see.
I just want to mention real quickly, I'm sure Adam will have more on middays with Maria. And as I just want to reiterate, looking at our social media pages, sharing her photo, and also reading up on the story at KSLNewsRadio.com. It'll be your go-to for the latest details on this case. Go ahead, Marty.
All right. Hey, if you're having trouble sleeping, there's a new method that helps people catch some Z's.
You're speaking my language.
It's listening to boring people. Bueller. We'll talk about that when we come back next.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Park City Resort offers 7,300 acres of skiable terrain, making it the largest lift-access ski resort in the U.S., with more than 330 trails, 43 lifts, and 2 vibrant base areas to explore. Communications Manager Emily McDonald joins us with more.
This coming winter, during the 2025-26 season, we are thrilled to introduce the brand new 10-passenger Sunrise Gondola at Canyons Village. This state-of-the-art gondola is designed to enhance mountain access and better withstand windy conditions, making for quicker, smoother rides straight to the snow and our beautiful mid-mountain terrain. It's an exciting step forward in improving the guest experience at Park City Mountain. As part of this project, we've officially retired the iconic Sunrise double chairlift, but it's not just going away. It's becoming part of something meaningful. On June 11th, we invite the entire community to join us at Canyons Village for a special chairlift auction benefiting local nonprofits. Approximately 50 chairs will be available, including 12 custom designed by local artists around the theme, What Community Means to Me. Come celebrate with us, support a great cause, and take home a piece of Park City history.
With the new Sunrise Gondola, expanded access, and community-focused events like the Lift Chair Auction, Park City Resort is offering more than ever. Learn more and plan your visit at parkcitymountain.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Buying a home can be challenging. Good thing Mountain America Credit Union is on your side. With our homegrown home loans, you'll receive the local guidance and friendly service to finance your dream home. Plus, for a limited time, you'll get a free appraisal. Apply for your Mountain America Homegrown Home Loan today. Details at macu.com/mortgage. On approved credit, membership required based on eligibility. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Some restrictions apply. Equal housing lender. NMLS ID 462815.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Marty Carpenter. We're in the home stretch here. And we're going to talk about sleep. You're probably exhausted
time
after
for a siesta. Let's do it.
Hanging out here with me for 3 hours. So I want to listen to this first, and then we're going to talk about our sleep habits or lack of sleep habits if you're me. Jeff Kaplan does this Minute of News I think it's like every day. I hear one. I think I hear one a day. I love him. And he talked about sleep, and particularly like how do we get ourselves to sleep by listening to boring.
In the 1800s, you know how people got to sleep at night? In the dim, flickering light of candles, they exhaled. Blow out the candle. It's dark. They went to sleep. No white noise apps, no hypnosis, no nonsense. The day was hard. The night was welcome. But fast forward, and overstimulated Americans will do almost anything to slip off to La La Land for a few hours. Pills, herbs, apps. There's an entire universe of slumber hacks on TikTok, and the most interesting of them, and by that I mean the most uninteresting, are recordings of boring people whose voices literally put you to sleep. The Wall Street Journal has written a roundup of these snooze fests, so allow me to bore you first with a 5-hour loop of the BBC shipping forecast.
1,015 rising more slowly. Aberdeen, southwest by west.
For those who fall asleep best to a soothing voice, this meaningless weather forecast from a faraway place is just the ticket. Now, for those who remember hiding under the covers as a kid listening to a baseball game on a crackly radio, a guy in Chicago is producing a baseball play-by-play podcast.
Runners on the corners now. One away for Giovanni Gasparo.
The horrible sound quality is intentional. It's like an old crackly radio. The teams are made up, the games are fake and boring, but it's soothing to some people, as is a guy in Pleasant Grove who was once told he had a boring voice. So when he was laid off, Benjamin Boster began the I Can't Sleep podcast. He reads Wikipedia pages about boring subjects like ATM machines,
funds transfers, balance inquiries, or account information inquiries.
Still awake? This 43-year-old Pleasant Grove boring guy has 10 million downloads, and he now supports his family as a living, breathing dose of melatonin.
Including
Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News, only on KSL News Radio.
Do you have trouble sleeping?
Not after listening to that guy.
It's amazing he's a Utah.
Yeah. I really don't. No, I don't. I kind of locked in on this a couple years ago and found a few tricks that helped me. And so, no,
What are your tricks? Because those of us who can't sleep need to know.
Okay. It starts in the morning.
What?
First thing is, you start your whole rhythm for the day.
I'm already exhausted.
So once you wake
I
up,
want to hear it, though.
I get out. I try to get outside within 10 minutes of waking up.
That's smart.
And not be on my screen other than to turn off my alarm.
Mm-hmm.
Get outside, go for a walk for half an hour. I'm usually out to see the sun come up, and I think that sets the rhythm for by the time I get to the end of the day, my body knows that, hey, it's starting to get dark and it's time to start shutting down. I do something that a lot of people do, which is I read before I go to bed, not a Kindle. I like to read like a regular book, the paper.
So no screen time.
Yep, try to take I'd love to say an hour, but it's really closer to like half an hour, maybe 20 minutes before I go to bed where I'm just reading and trying not to have the stimulation that comes from a screen, and that helps a lot.
I've been in no sleep mode for years now, and people who are longtime listeners of the show know occasionally when we talk about sleep, I'm the guinea pig because I don't sleep well. And this kind of came on. I mean, I haven't always not slept, particularly in college. I would sleep till noon every day if I could.
Did it get messed up when we both worked sort of overnights here back around 2000?
So you and I worked at KSL 5 TV together back in the early 2000s, and you were on the morning show,
I
right?
edited the morning show. I had to be here at 3, if I remember, 2:30 or 3 in the morning.
So I slept a little later than you because they would kind of dispatch me from home. I was the morning show reporter. And
you know what they say, of course, about that. You and I both know this. Everyone else will not necessarily know this. What they say, if you work that shift, whether it's TV or a graveyard shift somewhere else, if you're not sleeping, you're thinking about when you're going to sleep.
It's frustrating.
It's a fundamental thing that just throws you off, and it messes up a lot.
Or fear, and think about this in 2000, of the alarm not going off, right? Or the electricity bumping in the middle of the night.
I'm sure you had this too. I remember very vividly waking up one time in the winter at like 4 o'clock, and it was like stormy and sort of dark outside, and waking up and not knowing, and walking out to ask my wife, is it 4 a.m. and I'm late for work, or is it 4 p.m. and I need to go back to sleep? Like my brain couldn't lock in on it.
Yeah,
it messes you up.
I think you hit on that. That's probably about the time that I started to have weird sleep patterns, and over the years, they just got weirder and weirder. So I fought through that. I bought myself a white noise machine not too long ago, and it has like 14 different settings. I can listen to the birds chirping. I can listen to the babbling brook sound, and I chose and landed on for like the last couple of years, I think now, the ocean sounds. But now I'm in a battle for volume because for some reason I'm like, you're a little too loud on the ocean. I'm like, I don't want to be in the ocean, but then I
don't want to dream that I'm drowning. I
turn it down, and it's like, no, that's too soft. And I've also found, as you pointed out in the break before we started talking, that we kind of have our white noise machines built into our iPhones. And so I put in my AirPods, and I use the camping, like the cricket chirping sound. And I usually stay asleep until my AirPod at about 3:30 or 4 goes, wah, 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 like it's
Do you
dying.
sleep in a very cold bedroom?
Yes, I do.
That's also really helpful.
That is helpful,
like
too.
The 60s and you'll
it's like 68 degrees. I think it's a sweet spot. I've learned that over the years. Not too many blankets, and you don't want to wake up boiling hot.
I got into a habit with a fan on my mission.
It's
I
white
served
noise.
in the Caribbean, and I had a fan blowing by my head out of necessity to keep the mosquitoes off.
Yeah.
And I still don't sleep well if there's not I have a ceiling fan.
I do too.
If you're somewhere, but hotels are tougher because there's no ceiling fan going.
But the fan, I think, offers like the built-in white noise where you don't have to go out and buy this $15 white noise machine that I'm fighting with right now.
That's right.
But this is according to a doctor who studies sleep habits and bad sleep habits. They said one of the most effective ways to trick yourself into falling asleep is to try not to sleep. I've tried this when I wake up in the middle of the night, because I've actually talked to my therapist about this. Like, I gotta sleep. Like, I can't live the rest of my life not sleeping. But I wake up in the middle of the night and then, boom, I'm wide awake. And he said, well, instead of fighting it in frustration, because all you're gonna do is build frustration as you lie there and you try to fall asleep, lie there, whatever. You try to fall back to sleep. Get up and do something boring. I was like, I got a lot of boring things to do in my life without screen time, so I'm not really allowed to get on and do my New York Times puzzles that I love to do because it's just like too much.
Well, and that'll kind of wake your brain up
Exactly.
as opposed to help it relax.
So the drawers around my home are really tidied up right now. They're all wiped down of any sort of dust. My workbench is perfectly clean. And then eventually I do get tired enough that I fall back to sleep. So these are kind of maybe the crazy habits that I'm getting myself into.
Be interesting to see how this is 6 months down the road when you're not worried about work anymore, right? When you can just go, I don't have to worry about it.
Well, thanks to you, Marty, for being here with me. Thanks to Jeff Kaplan and his Minute of News. And it's been fun co-hosting with you and working with you over the years.
And best of luck to you with the next chapter in case this is the last time we get to do this together.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as I head off into retirement and maybe find myself getting some better sleep.
Take a nap.
Let's hope.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average.